Good evening and welcome to Open Your Mind Radio. You have myself, Alan James.
And you have myself, Stephen George. Good evening.
It's Sunday the 2nd of November 2014 and what a fantastic day it was yesterday. I have to say, Steve, was it not fantastic all the protesting?
Yes, it was. We were drowned to within an inch of our life, but worth it.
We had the stamina and we got out there and we, everybody, brilliant job done by everybody. We're going to be talking about that later on the show anyway. We have Dermot from the National Citizens Movement on the show. We're going to be bringing Dermot on in a few minutes and we're going to be talking about the protests yesterday and Irish Water and what's gone down and the work that Dermot and all his team have been doing fantastic work. But before we do that, let's find out what the communication channels are.
Yes, communication channels, please, Mary.
The communication channels are email info@oymireland.com, by phone 046 927 1212, and you can also contact us direct through the OYM chat room.
Thank you, Mary. 046 927 1212 is the number for the studio this evening, and every evening, we also have Facebook as well. If you want to log on to oymradio.com, you will see the Facebook link there. You can join us there on the anti-social media. We also have the website, the chat room there as well. Say hi to everyone that's in there. If you want to ask questions for our guests this evening, that is the place to do that. That is oymradio.com. Click the live chat button on the left-hand side. YouTube, we've also got YouTube as well, and I think every podcast we've ever done is up there on YouTube, so yeah, you'd be spoiled for choice. Alan?
Well, most of them anyway. I just want to give a quick shout out, a quick hello to Amy in Limerick, one of our listeners. Well done, Amy, you're doing sterling work there, posting loads of stuff there on Facebook and waking people up. Well done. Steve, you're going to tell us about Mark?
Yeah, I've mentioned this for the past couple of weeks, and November is finally upon us. The winter has kicked in. It's definitely a lot cooler this evening than it was a couple of evenings ago. So yeah, today, I think second day of winter. But anyway, November 30th, that is a Sunday. International medium Mark Impey is going to be doing some platform work in the Oldcastle Spiritual and Healing Centre. Again, that's in Oldcastle. Tickets are a mere €5 and money raised will be going to charity. Mark is a good friend of OYM. He was on the show last year in 2013, and if you want to check out more about Mark and what he does, you can pop along to circleofwhitelight.com. That's www.circleofwhitelight.com. And Mark is an excellent medium, and the 30th of November is a night not to be missed. You can also pop over to the Oldcastle Spiritual and Healing Centre Facebook page if you are on Facebook, and you'll find out more information there about upcoming events. Again, Sunday the 30th of November.
Brilliant stuff, Steve. Thanks a lot. Now, one of the things, we sent out a couple of links there during the week, and one of the links got to do with water-powered generators. Now, maybe that's why they're privatising the water, because people are beginning to get wise that you can use water to power a generator to get power from. And thanks to JJ, one of our listeners, for emailing the link over. It's a company called GDStechnologies.ca. That's the website, www.gdstechnologies.ca. And they sell water-powered generators, and I'm sure you can probably get them over in Europe as well. But it just seems to be that water now is a massive commodity, and private companies want to get involved. It's a bit like the new gold, and we have to be very careful. This is what's going on with the Dennis O'Brien, but we're going to be getting into that later. The other thing that we found out, and just a bit of a warning for people. There's a Christmas scam going around. Some of you may have heard about this. Basically, what's happening is that people, you will get a little kind of "we've missed you for a delivery" card in your letterbox, and it'll have a phone number on it. So you ring up the company saying, you're supposed to ring up the company and ask about the actual delivery which you missed. But it turns out that this is a premium rate line, and it could be something like €10 a minute or €10 a second or something like that. It's a scam that's gone around. So if you get home or you're not in your house and there's a little white card there saying, please call us, you missed the delivery, check the company out and find out who they are first on the internet. Because if you ring the number that's on it, it's a premium rate line and you're going to be charged. So be very, very careful with that. Steve, how's your week?
Yeah, fine. It's just, when you mentioned the scams, I got a phone call there Saturday morning, which was yesterday morning, it was, and it was from... what was the guy? I think the guy's name was Eddie. He didn't sound like an Eddie. He sounded like he was an Asian of Asian descent, but he told me it was Eddie at Eurotel, and he wanted to speak to me, and he was going to save me 20% or up to 20% on my phone bill. So I let him go on, and he wanted to know was I Mr. X, and I said no. Well, can I speak to Mr. X? No. Why can I not speak to Mr. X? Because he's not here. So it was kind of yes, no answers. I had him on the phone for, I'd say maybe 5-6 minutes, and he didn't get any information out of me. But in the end, I think he was getting a little bit irate. But he said to me, "Well, I can't talk to you, and I can't save you any money on your phone bill." And I said, "Best of luck." So he hung up anyway. So I'm guessing he's not listening anyway. But yeah, we get these phone calls at least once or twice a month from the same company, Eurotel. We have asked them to take us off their mailing list or their numbers, but they just keep saying, yes, we will do that, but they don't. So anyway, what else was I going to mention? I've seen an interesting video. If anyone who's on the chat room there will see in the top of the chat room, I did post 2 videos there earlier, both of which I watched during the week. One was some of the Gardaí at one of the protests in St Donna's Road in the Donamead. And I thought it was like, you see a lot of videos going around where the guards are being violent and are pushing people and trying to incite violence or incite something. And this one was just a gathering of the people. There was maybe 7 or 8 Gardaí, and someone actually stood up and he started to read out the Gardaí, their oath, you know, the oath that they take. He started to read that out. And he got halfway down anyway. I think he was doing it on a phone, and whatever happened, he didn't get to finish it. But you could see by the face on the guards, they were kind of stone-faced. Some looked like they were maybe having a reflection on their time in Temple Moor, and they looked like, maybe that what this guy was saying was actually kind of ringing through to them, and they realised, hang on, this is not what I signed up for. I signed up to be a guard and to sign up to do everything that it says in the oath, and here I am protecting a private company and being violent towards my fellow citizens. So the guy reads out the oath. The rest of the people there were asking questions, and it was very, very peaceful, very peaceful. And in the end, all it took was one of the guards actually turned and he walked away, and the rest of them, I'd say there was 7 or 8, they all followed suit anyway. So that was interesting to see. What else? Just the last thing I want to mention was the fact that we were talking about Ebola. Now, we actually got an email. The jury's kind of still out as far as I'm concerned, because there's so much information going around about Ebola being real, being unreal, and whether it's getting spread through vaccinations, and I don't know. It's not really something that's coming up on my radar because we're concentrating on other things. But I did see a video. I won't say I was clearing out some stuff, but I was going through a hard drive that I have at home that I have all my bits and bobs on, and I came across a video that I haven't seen in about 2 years. It was Bob Beck. Anyone if you don't know Bob Beck, look him up on the internet. But he actually talked of the silver pulsar. It's kind of like a little machine that he didn't invent it. He just kind of he reinvented it, if you like, and it's for kind of purifying the blood electrically. But it's a great little device. And I came across this video, just started to watch it, and I was kind of surprised that in the video he mentions a lot of the kind of pathogens that will be in the blood that this thing can neutralise. As he says himself, you go into spontaneous. I was going to say combustion, but it's not spontaneous remission, because he says you can't say cure because there's so much around the word cure. But he actually mentions Ebola in the video. I have posted a link. The video link that I have up there on top of the chat room is about 5 minutes long. It's just a snippet of a longer video. I think it goes on for maybe an hour. But he does actually mention it in that. So that's good to know, because I know we were talking about Ebola, and we were saying that not the colloidal silver but the nano silver was instrumental in curing Ebola. Well, now we have two little things in our arsenal. We also have the silver pulsar, the Bob Beck protocol as well. So that's kind of good to know. Then there's my week in a nutshell. How was your week?
How's my week? Well, just a couple of things. One of the things we're going to be talking to Dermot about shortly is, just funny enough, I was looking at this. Articles 47 and 48 that were removed from our constitution by a previous Fine Gael government. It gave us the right to call a referendum to stop unfair legislation or to initiate legislation for the common good. And it says here, I firmly believe that if we still had these rights today, we go to page 2, that we would have not have the austerity or the criminal German bank bailout. And that's true. If we had direct democracy process, which was in our original 1919 constitution, we wouldn't need to protest. We'd just, get a vote, have a referendum, and it would be sorted from there. So that needs to be put back in. But another thing that came in, again, JJ, thanks to JJ, listener, who he emailed one of the ministers, a Minister Brendan Howlin, TD, Minister for Public Expenditure and Reform, so he should be sacked anyway. And he says here, it's a little bit long-winded, but I'll read it out, and for the legal people there who are interested in the likes of constitution, stuff like that, they might be interested. It says here, he said, this is the reply back to JJ, and he says, the Republic of Ireland is a representative democracy. Nice for him to actually say that. As is the although it isn't. As it is in the United States of America and all member countries of the European Union. Ireland is also a parliamentary democracy, which means that the executive, the government of the day, is answerable to the legislator, the Dáil and Seanad, and has a judiciary which is independent of both the executive and the legislature. Ireland and the UK are both parliamentary democracies, whereas the United States, although it is a representative democracy, is not a parliamentary democracy. It is a presidential democracy because the president, who is the de facto head of state, is elected separately and is not a member of the US Senate or Congress. In both UK and Ireland, the Prime Minister is the leader of the political party which forms the government, either on its own or in a coalition arrangement. Ireland and the UK each also have a ceremonial head of state, although here again there are differences. Our head of state is a president elected by the people, while in the UK the head of state is the king or queen at the given time. I don't think Higgins would be a person that we'd want to have in. He's off on a gallivant around Africa, I think, for 3 weeks at the moment. So it's interesting that he actually admitted that he's saying the Republic of Ireland is a representative democracy. Well, he might think that, but we know it isn't, because if it's a democracy, you must be able to get out of it. If you decide that you don't want to be in it, you must be able to get out. But there's no way to get out, so that means that we are slaves. We talked about this on the show, I think last week or the week before that. So that means that we are slaves, and as a slave, that must mean we're in a dictatorship. That's just how I work it out. We'll speak to Dermot in a minute about that and get his take on it. And here's something else of interest. I was out on a social night last night, and as usual, I always have the OYM cap on and trying to find out information. And I got talking to a chap who I've met before, actually, and he represents people in court, people in businesses. And he's a good guy because 40% of his clients is actually pro bono, which means that he doesn't charge them. So he's a good guy. And he said to me, I can't mention any names unfortunately, but he said that in County Meath, the Sheriff of County Meath, which is a lady called Ahern, something got to do with Bertie Ahern somewhere down the line, that she is an acting sheriff and that she was never sworn in, which means that all the paperwork that she has done and issued is null and void. Now this guy is in the courts all the time, and he's representing people all the time, he's fronted in judges all the time, so he pretty much knows what he's doing. Now he's not a solicitor, but that's all I really can say about him. I can't give any more information now, but he just happened to say in passing last night that she is an acting sheriff, she wasn't sworn in, and any paperwork that she's given out is actually null and void. So for the people who are interested, it might be worthwhile checking it out to double check it and make sure that it's okay, because if people have been issued repossessions on behalf of her turning up as an acting sheriff, then the paperwork is null and void. So that would be interesting to see what comes out of that. But okay, we've been on our guest because we've loads of stuff to talk about yesterday and all the protests that took place all around Ireland. So we'll bring in our guest. Good evening, Dermot. How are you doing?
Hey, Bud. How are you doing?
Fine. We had a brilliant time yesterday. Now, before we actually get into the actual protests and everything that's going on, the National Citizens Movement you set up on Facebook, and you've got masses and masses of people who are part of the group, and it's doing fantastic. Tell us all about that first before we go into talking about Irish water and the actual water meters and the protests.
Yeah, well, the National Citizens Movement, we noticed about 2.5 months ago that there was a lot of anti-water groups all around Ireland. So three of us got together and we said, why don't we try and bring all these groups together and we sit down and have a chat together. So we did. We invited 2 or 3 members from each, Dublin Says No and all the different groups. We invited members from each group to go down to Cork. And we all met down in a hotel in Cork. There's about 100 people in the room. And we decided that we'd go under the one umbrella group called the National Citizens Movement. Now, the reason behind the National Citizens Movement is to get accountability in Ireland. It's to form a group of people, maybe get 50,000 people under one sort of wavelength, and we could fund ourselves because we're just lost. We're trying to get people into court and we've no money to get them into court because that's what they do. They put things out of your reach. I mean, I took a summons against Irish Water the other day, last week, and it cost me over €350 just to take the summons and put the notice of motion and the affidavits, this whole thing. So that's what the National Citizens Movement was created for to get people together and help each other. And then when we tackled Irish Water, it was basically set up to defeat Irish Water. And we're doing a great job so far. We've 22,000 people on the page in over 8 weeks, you know. Now, you're speaking there about the Articles 47 and 48. I have been trying to get them in for years back into the Constitution. They were taken out by the first government that came to power in 1937. And Michael Collins put them 2 articles in, and he put a footnote in at the bottom of the articles. And he said, these articles are to protect the people just in case of any corrupt governments. He was very, very, you know, he looked into the future, Michael Collins. He was very wary of what would happen, you know. And he said, this is to protect the people, these 2 articles. Now, them 2 articles gave us the right by, as you said earlier, quite right, by the signatures alone, to remove any politician from office and to overturn any law that he put on us. And all we had to do was collect 1/5 of the voting electorate of that year. Say there was 80,000 or 100,000 for 2 million to come out to vote. We had to get 1/5 of that. So it usually works out about 75,000 signatures. And when they came to power and Fine Gael looked at them 2 articles, he said, oh my God, hold on. The public can challenge us here, so we better take them out. So they took them out. There was no referendum. They just took them out of the Constitution. Now, if somebody challenged them on that a year later and said, hang on a minute, where's their 2 articles gone? And he said, oh, don't mind them. We'll look at them now 2 years down the line. We know all about it. We know what we're doing, blah, blah, blah. And then 2 years down the line, they were asked about them again. And then they put it forward for 8 years. He said, oh, we'll look at it in 8 years' time. And that's happened up to today, and we still haven't got them articles back in. Now, then the only recourse we had against the government was we had a class action suit that we could take. So you and I and, say, 500, all the National Citizen Movement could go as a class action suit against anybody that was corrupt. And they took that out of the courts. They done away with that as well. So now we're left with nothing. We can't challenge them on anything. And the only thing that happened yesterday, people powered on the streets, is the only way we can do it now, unless we get these articles back into place.
Right, okay. And what about, obviously, we talked about the direct democracy process. I mean, that's something that we want to get back in. And we were at the Kells protest yesterday, and there was a great turnout, over 1,000 people there in Kells. And, of course, we had a couple of TDs that turned up. One of them was Thomas Byrne TD.
Yeah, they're going to jump on the bandwagon.
Yeah, exactly. And people need to realise that these people just want to feather their own nest. They don't care about the people. They never have cared about the people, and they never will. And the fact that they've no power, there's a party whip system, which is like a corporate company, because the government now is a corporate company. It's not a government, it's a corporate company, and there's a board of directors, and that's the party whip system. And these politicians, if you want a hole in the road fixed, then they'll fix it for you. But that's all they can do. And people are under some illusion that when they go to the local TDs, that they can actually do something for them, and they can't.
Nothing, absolutely. They have no power whatsoever.
So we have to get all these parties out. They're all the same. We have to get these parties out. We have to give the power back to the people, and we have to let the people have referendums. And one of the suggestions that I seen during the week, which I thought was a very good idea, that any TD that wants to be elected in the local area will have to be vetted by the people.
Yeah, he should sign a contract.
Sign the contract.
He should be held to that contract, that if he does anything untoward, any skullduggery, he's sacked immediately. No pension, no pay, just get out. And that will encourage only honest people to step forward for election.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And again, well, that's part of the kind of direct democracy process where you can sack a TD.
Yeah, you have a recall.
I mean, isn't it funny that in all the jobs that are out there, like in the private sector, if you don't do your job, you get sacked. But when you're a politician, you can be terrible, which we've had so many bad politicians there, and they stay there for 5 years and get a whacking big pension at the end of it.
Yeah, well, you see, that's what's happened, because when we try to get this bond holder, everybody doesn't understand what these taxes are all about. And I've been going around halls all around Ireland last week and the week before, telling people about the bond holder bailout and why they're paying their taxes and why they're going to be paying the broadcasting charge. Because this bond holder bailout was put on top of us. It was a gambling debt by banks and corporate business, and they lost the bet and they made us pay for it. We didn't have to. It was an odious debt. It's not our debt,
Exactly.
Now, all these taxes. Last year, the government failed to meet the bondholder target. They had to pay 8 billion last year, and they failed to do that. They could only get 6 billion. So they had to borrow 2 billion from Europe to pay the 8 billion. Now, next year, they're going to be probably short again. So they're hoping this water tax will be up and running, because the Troika have told them last year, and it's funny enough, I was telling people this all last week and the week before, that if they don't get this water tax up and running, then the Troika will demand public sector cuts. And what does Kenny do the other night? He abolishes the law that can cut the public sector.
Unbelievable.
So there's exactly what I was telling people, come straight through. Now, when the bondholder bailout happened, that night, I got a phone call at midnight to Dermot, get up to the Dáil quick. They're going to sign their children into debt, And I rushed up from Mullingar up to Dublin. It was -5 degrees. And we had a petition for the President. Please do not sign the bondholder bailout until the court case. We had a case in court the next day. And we were going to get a judicial review on the whole bondholder bailout. Who were the bondholders? Why did we owe the money? Why was it the people's debt? And that court case was the next day, and they rushed that through during the night. And we had a petition there for the President. And that little bollocks never came up to the Dáil. He knew we were there, and he sent the papers up to the park for him to sign, Now, we went around meetings after that, in that next week, and we told people, we said, if we allowed them to sign this debt, we were trying to get people out in the streets like now, but people were working, and they had the apathy, and they didn't care, it's okay. So what we told them what would happen, we said there'll be high streets will be boarded up, the shops will be boarded up, there'll be businesses will close down, there'll be 300,000 people on the dole, there'll be people flying out of this country daily, and you'll be queuing up for in the hospital to get seen to. There'll be medical cards because the dole would be cut. And they called us the next day. RTA would video us that night, and they never showed it to anybody. And the next day in the papers, we were called conspiracy theorists. That's what we were called. Nutcases, Now, everything we said, we were wrong, because it was twice as bad as what we had said,
Yeah, well, see, that's what the mainstream media do. They love that word, conspiracy theorist. Because that the label, getting two words and sticking it together. And it's madness, really, the way they do it. I mean, we know the mainstream media is now, as we talked just before the show, Dermot, that the mainstream media is now controlled by Dennis O'Brien and his Communicorp media empire, and RTE are compromised anyway.
RTA is in their pockets. Now, as I said, I had to take Irish water to court. They put a meter outside my home here, and when they came to put the meter in, I said, I don't want your meter. I don't want to give any consent or contract to you people. I already pay for my water. Piss off with your meter. So anyway, I put my van over the hole, and they bullied their way under. They tunneled under the van, and they got the meter in anyway. But as soon as they had it in, I took it back out, and I put it into a box, and I posted it back to Irish Water. I said, there's your meter. I said, I told you I didn't want it. Stick it up your arse, do what you like with it, And 2 days later, I sent an invoice for the removal of the meter. I charged them 20 quid for taking the meter out, and I charged them 7.50 for the postage. I'm still waiting to get paid. I don't expect to get paid off them. But I also noticed when I took out the meter that how easy it was for me to take that meter out. And I said, that's a bit strange now, because they're putting meters in, and I can just take it out. So what we done, a couple of us, and Tony Rochford, I have to mention Tony Rochford, because he's the one that brought it to our attention. Tony Rochford made a video over in Trim, and he screwed out a meter, and he squirted in a dye into the hole where the meter came out from, a red dye, just a colorant. And he put the meter back in, and when he went in and turned on his tap, the red dye came out through the tap. Now, that could be anything you put into that hole. It could have been Ebola, it could have been anthrax, it could have been anything. So when I seen that video, I said, my God, I'm going to take a court case. So I took a court case against Irish Water. On the Constitution, Article 43.1, that I have the right to bodily integrity, to protect my health, and the health of my family. And I say that meter is a risk to my health. So I have a court case pending now. I'm up in court on the 1st of December. But they put everything in my way. And when I sent that video to Alan Kelly, the Minister for the he said to me, I got an email back within 2 minutes. Do you know you can go to jail for tampering with them meters? That's all he said. And I said, Alan, please have a look at the content of the video. Never mind threatening me with jail or fines. I said, have a look at the content of the video, the safety issue. And then he got back to me and he said, oh, well, Irish Water could, anybody could put anything in your water before they got there. And I said, no, that's very untrue. I said, and I'll prove that to you. So I went around to a friend of mine's house where Irish Water hadn't been to. And I took another video there of a sealed unit. It's just a pipe down the hole and an on and off stopcock. And I sent that video to him then with the other video as well, both back again to him. And then he turns around and he said, oh, well, I see what you mean, but that's out of my hands. It's nothing got to do with me. Now, here, as you said, Representative, here's a politician that we voted into power to act on my behalf, that he could take the court case for me. And he just throws it to me and says, no, you go and do it, because he knows I'm unemployed. I have no money. However, I get the money to take a court case against Irish Water. But I did, with the help of the hub in town and a few other people. We got the money together, and I lodged the summons on them. And now I'm in court on the 1st of December.
Brilliant stuff, brilliant stuff. And how do you think you'll do?
Well, they have to go my way, because it is dangerous. It's that everybody's meter that's outside our home now. Anybody can take out that meter and put anything they like into your water. So
there's a couple of things that we need to talk about as well. Not just the actual water itself. And the couple of protests that we've been on, we were down in Dublin, down to Kells. And, you know, people are getting up and talking about Irish Water and we shouldn't be paying and all that. But we need to start giving people the solutions as well. And I got really frustrated. I watched the Late Show, just the part where they had the two puppets from the government, and then they had the two TDs. And I felt like putting my fist through the monitor, because, you know, the couple of things that were said. Number one, it's not only about the water, but they're trying to give us poisoned water. There's a neurotoxin in the water, which is fluoride.
I know, yeah.
And this guy in the audience mentioned, and he said, oh, I see that you have bottled water. Well, I buy bottled water, as does Steve, because there's fluoride in it, and it's a poison. Right? So there's that issue. So it's the fluoride issue. Plus, the meters are radiating that water.
Yeah.
And we had Barry Trower on, who's a scientist. And Barry was telling us all about the meters. Now, there's another scientist who we're going to try and get on as well, who's actually an expert in radiation. We're going to ask him to come on and actually confirm what Barry said and go into more in depth into that subject matter. But I mean, number one, we don't want to pay for the water because we've already paid for it in our taxes.
Exactly, we're paying for it, yeah.
Well, and obviously the fluoride in the water. And then, you know, we've also heard, we talked about it on the show last week, that these meters were apparently taken out of in Germany and put in a warehouse because they were faulty.
Yeah, they were on inaccurate high readings.
That's right.
But there's a solution to all of this, that they could abolish these water charges tomorrow. And it's a simple solution. And I've sent email after email into the government. All you have to do, Richie Boucher's on 960,000 a year, he's the head of the bank. And you have all these bank managers on 700,000, 800,000. There's thousands of them on that. You have RTA that's on 450,000, 600,000. And all they get back is, oh, well, they're under contract. But you can just rescind them contracts for a while and tax them by 1%. And that's all you have to do, tax them by 1%. And if you tax them by 1%, that's the water charges abolished. But it's not about that. They want to privatise this water. And when they privatise this water, all these lovely lakes that I have here in Mullingar, you have Lough Gow, Lough Gannon, a Spanish company will come in and put a fence around them lakes, and you won't be let near them lakes. That'll belong to them.
We had John Perkins on the show, I don't know, a couple of years ago, maybe a year ago, and he's the guy who wrote the book Economics of Confessions of an Economic Hitman. And he told us on the show what he did. His job was to come in and give the president or the Taoiseach or the Prime Minister loads of money, which Bertie did during the Celtic Tiger, and which most of the money goes to the 1% anyway. And then the government turn around and go, well, we can't afford to pay it back, so we're going to have to strip mine your country. Hence all our assets are sold off. And water being a commodity now, we've heard through the grapevine, we don't know how true this is, but we know that the financial markets are really in a bad state at the moment. The banks are struggling. There's some banks that haven't actually passed the stress test. And what these oligarchs are doing, and these multi-billionaires, they want to get rid of their cash. So what they're doing is they're buying everything up as a tangible asset, and water is one of them.
It's one of the best assets you can get. They've already taken our oil. Everybody thinks Obama came over here last year or whatever to say hello to us. Obama was over here because of the oil. He spent $2 billion or $3 billion in Iraq trying to get the Iraqi oil, and Syria, the whole lot, and in Libya and the whole lot. He spent billions with the wars there, you know. He came into the world, he got it for nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
But the oil is being pumped out of the ground here every day of the week, and we're getting nothing for it. Bertie Ahern put it up to 75%.
And that's
So
right.
we should be getting 75% of every barrel that comes out of that ground, and we get nothing, absolutely nothing.
And the Norwegians actually do that. The money goes back in, and they can't
They're laughing at us,
understand.
they're laughing their heads off.
They're laughing at us. They're saying, why are we giving it away? I mean, these, you know, are just the incompetence of our politicians. Now, in a corporate company, I have to speak from experience because that's my background, my ex-background. I'm out of that now when I seen what went on. But in a corporate company, you don't take the IT manager and make him in charge of marketing, and then in a couple of years' time, make him in charge of sales. That's not his background. What you do is you get people in and say, right, if your expertise is marketing, you take care of marketing. But what they do is they move these people, these politicians around down to different departments, and so that means they have to rely on the civil servants, and called the civil servants are just putting any figures into the TD, and the TD, like, he has to believe the figures because he's not an expert in that area. I mean, where else would you get it? I mean, just unbelievable.
Well, everybody is putting their last hope. The last hope they have is Sinn Féin. And if Sinn Féin get in, it's going to be the same bullshit again. They'll get in as a coalition with Fianna Fáil or Fine Gael, or well, Labour won't be getting in. And that you're going to have the same crack again. The same bullshit for the next 5 years. Because what we have here in Ireland, we've no representative democracy at all. You either pick Tweedledee or you pick Tweedledum. That's all that's put in front of you. And until we get our own representatives, our own people, and put them in on contract that if you do anything wrong, they're sacked, this country is going nowhere. And until this bondholder bailout is overturned, which I'm trying to do at the moment, we're trying to get a court case. We have all the evidence. We have the proof it was an odious death. And we have all the proof of the politicians who signed it, the bondholder bailout that night. We have each and every one of them. And I won't rest until they're brought to justice, because there's 2 suicides every day in this country, and it's not once mentioned on the media and the news, and nothing. And then people, when I found RTA, and I said, why don't you highlight the suicides in Ireland? They told me, oh, well, we don't go into mental health issues, you know. What they're saying is that 2 people every day that commit suicide have mental health. They must be off their head. I done a survey on the suicides, and 68% of the people that committed suicide around this country were being chased to their deaths by money, by banks and by corporations and by credit unions. They chased them to their deaths, you know. Yeah,
but we need to say what we're trying to get out there. From an OYM point of view and a lot of other people, is that we do have the solutions for this. The solutions are very...
But we have to get our own people in.
Yeah.
Every community, Mullingar has to pick somebody, Tullamore has to pick somebody, and get rid of these corrupt lots, all these lots, just get rid of the whole lot of them, and put our own people in. And as soon as we get in, change that judiciary, get rid of them judges, them appointed judges. There's a judge sitting on the bench there, and he's ruling on cases there. Judge, I can't think of his name, will come to me in a minute. He was impeached last year, and he's waiting for a tribunal to decide whether the person that got him impeached was right or he was wrong. And he's supposed to be out of the court system till that decision is reached. He's throwing people out of homes every day of the week in Dublin, you know, and he's impeached.
It's unbelievable.
Beyond a joke, you know.
And there's probably a few of the sinister things going on that we don't know about that need to be exposed. I think the first thing is, Dermot, you're right, we need to get direct democracy process in, because then what we can do is when we start sorting things out, because the TDs couldn't run a pee up in a brewery, okay? So we know that. So we get the people of Ireland to sort it out. Now, there's no reason why we can't reissue the punt. Okay, get out of the euro, because it's dead in the water. Reissue the punt. It has to be interest free, and it has to be issued by a proper government, right? And once we do that, the country will, because it'll be credit based, not debt based. And once we do that, we can be on the up and up. We can start sorting things out. People think that some people think that we have to sort the problem out with the current currency. We don't. I mean, Iceland have their own currency, and
you don't hear Iceland on the news. There's nothing heard about Iceland. Oh no.
Exactly. Well, we had Brigitte Jon's daughter on the show. She's an Icelandic MP, and Brigitte has told us about what's going on in Iceland. Now we must get her on again and talk about it. But we definitely need to bring back in the punt, bring in direct democracy, and start sorting things out. And then what we would do is we will go after, and I think this should be done, we'll go after the TDs who just blatantly knew what was going on and who didn't do anything about it, didn't support the people, strip them of their assets and give them a basic pension, And then if they are liable for being responsible and they haven't done anything about it, let's do them for treason.
Yeah, they should go to jail. But the best thing about the direct democracy is, if we got them 2 articles back in, the general public of Ireland can call a referendum tomorrow, and we could say, look, we want the TDs, Bertie Ahern and Cahan and all, we want their pensions. You can't take the pensions off them because they're enshrined in law, you know, but you can tax them on it. So
Yeah,
you can say to the people, how much do you want to tax? Do you want to tax them 50%, 75% or 99%? Now, I know what I'd go with.
Well, when you say they're enshrined in law, I mean, we can change the law. That's why we have direct democracy.
Exactly, but just to have the articles in, you'd have gay people that want to get married, this, that and the other, you'd have people that want this, you'd have all the different things. Every class of society would be able to go and get their signatures for whatever things disturbing them, you know.
Right, okay.
And they'd have to get their signatures. They'd have to get 75,000. So if you had 2 guys that wanted to get married together and everybody's against them 2 guys would have to get 75,000 signatures.
Yeah.
Now I would sign for them, and something might get my family to sign for them, but it might take them 3 or 4 months to get them 75,000.
Yeah.
But once they got them signatures, then whatever what they want to get married, that becomes law.
Right, okay.
And that works for all aspects of society, you know.
Yeah. Now, we'd have to, I mean, I know people have said, oh, you'd have a referendum every week, but you wouldn't. Basically, you'd have a list of things that need to be agreed on, say, once a year maybe. And then you pop pop down and you tick what you want, yes or no, and the votes are counted, and that's it, job done. And if you look at Switzerland, they're doing a fantastic job. They have
the cantons, they do the same thing. They take in their boxes of signatures and they say, we want this and we want that and the other, and that's it. And if the government tried to bring out a law and the Swiss people don't like it, then you have the people inside in the Swiss Parliament, and they say, no, we're not happy with that. We have to put that to the people. So then they say, okay, get your signatures, and they go off and get them, and then they bring them back and say, then the law is just thrown out, you know.
Yeah, no, I definitely see. I mean, we do have the solutions, and even from a medical point of view, we've solutions as well. We know that they're saying, you know, the hospitals are closing, there's not enough people, you know, on wards, people on trolleys sitting outside. All that can be sorted as well. I mean, it can be all sorted, it can be all dealt with. We have the solutions and we have the people to bring in the solutions. We just have to get these people out.
Here. It's just corporate people taking it over. There's no government anymore. The government had no say, you know.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I went down, I live in Mullingar, and I seen up on the internet somebody put up that the banks don't have a license. Well, I've been fighting my bank for over 3 years now, myself, a personal fight with them. I sued my bank as well. But when I went down to my bank, my TSB bank, about 6 months ago, I asked, the bank manager knows me a long time, because when I had my own business, he knew me, and when I walked in, I said to the manager, can I see your banking license, you know? And he said, oh yeah, come on down here, and he brought me down to the end of the bank, and he showed me a little square piece of paper inside in a glass thing. He said, there you go. And it was a Registration of Companies Act, 1967 or something, and I said, no, that's not a license. I said, that's a registration of a company. I said, I want to see our banking license, you know? Oh, well, of course we have a license, we're a bank. I said, yeah, but can I see it, you know? And he said, well, I'll have to get head office. I said, no, this has nothing got to do with head office. I said, in the Basel rules too, all the banks, I said, have to have a license displayed on their wall in view of the public, you know, so the public know that their money is going to a proper source, you know. And he said, oh, well, I'll have to get on to head office. So far today, I haven't seen that license from him. So I went to the Ulster Bank next door up, and I asked them for the license, no license shown. And then I went up to the Bank of Ireland, no license shown. None of them have any license, because when they became insolvent, they all lost their licenses. And here they are trading now, and they're throwing people out of houses who don't even have a license. Yeah,
and then you could go to jail for, like, not having a TV license.
Exactly.
It's just, the thing is, it's so blatant of this corruption. It's in your face. It's unbelievable.
It's a cabal. What we have is a cabal here, you know. They all look after each other. RTA, the government. You go to the airport and you will never see a government minister's son going to Australia unless he's gone on holiday. And you won't see a banker's son going to Australia looking for work. You won't see the likes of RTA's sons and daughters going looking for work unless they're going on holiday. But it's our people that are driven out of the country, no work, you know. And then they tell us that the economy is turning. I don't see any turn in the economy.
It's just well, it's people power. That's what it's going to come to.
Exactly, people power. Yesterday now was a really tremendous. Here in Mullingar we had 6,000 or 7,000 people. It was fantastic, you know. And then again, the unions tried to commandeer that, and the Sinn Féin. Oh, we want to get up on the stage. I said, no, you're not getting on the stage. This Mullingar march is by Mullingar Says No and the National Citizens Movement, and you're not getting on that stage. Oh well, we started the right to water, and we don't know. I said, I don't give a fuck what you started. this is the National Citizens Movement, and Mullingar says, no, we've done our own leaflets, we didn't take any help from you. You are not getting on the stage to speak public or political crap, you know.
Yeah.
And that was it. And we had a fantastic march. Now, what I said to the people, I spoke to 5,000 people, and I told them about the bondholder bailout, and I told them about the banks and what they did. And two guys come up to me afterwards, and he said, my God, Dermot, I never knew all this happened, you know. They didn't know that we were outside the Dáil that night, because RT hid it all, you know. The papers hid it all. They didn't know that we had a petition for the president to stop it. They didn't even know we were in court trying to get it overturned.
Yeah.
And he come up, two guys come up and he said, my blood is absolutely boiling here, you know. And this is what's been hidden from the people. That's why I go around the country and I go to meetings and I talk to people and I tell them the truth, what's happening in the country. So if people want to see what's happening in the country, don't look at RT or TV3. Go onto the National Citizens Movement page. And everything that we do every day is posted up there. All about the laws and what's broken, how to get in court, evictions. I stopped an eviction there 3 weeks ago. That's what I do in my spare time. I go down stopping evictions.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant at what you're doing and the information that you put up there. And I have to agree with you. I mean, I actually call the TDs. Now, I'm not saying all of them, because there are, but the TDs that I have respect for, are, funny enough, are independent TDs. But the problem is that independent TDs have no power, but they're still doing a sterling job. The likes of Claire Daly.
There's no power. Once you see the whip system, once somebody votes, that's it. You have to go with it.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to go with the whip system.
Now, yeah, no, that's. I was just going to mention. I looked up the dictionary definition of what I fondly call the TDs as parasites, which is what I called Thomas Bourne TD yesterday in Kells, a parasite. And he obviously didn't like it, but you know, I was just speaking my mind. And it's an organism which lives in or on another organism, its host, and benefits from deriving nutrients at the other's expense. Now, if that's not what a TD is, I don't know what is. You know, now people have to realise, again, I'm going to say it again, TDs in parties, the current party system at the moment, TDs, they've no power, they don't care about you, they've never cared about you, and they never will care about you. My grandmother used to always say, all they do is feather their own nest. That's it. It's simple as that. And we have to keep telling people that, putting that message out there. They do not care about you. They should not be at these protest marches. The only reason why they're there is to get votes for themselves.
That's
so
all.
People
they tried to hear the Mullingar yesterday and they were just told to piss off, you know.
Yeah.
But we have one tea. We put an ad in the paper in 2010. You've probably seen it yourself in the Independent. It was a full-page ad. And it said, do you wish the truth to emerge? And we asked for whistleblowers from banks, from the judiciary, from the government, from any walks of society, solicitors or whatever, to come forward and give us information, and we would keep it secret. We wouldn't tell them anything. Since that day now, we have loads of information. But funny enough, one of the guys that rang us, he was working in a bank. He had a conscience, and he was telling us all that was happening behind the scenes, and that's how we're taking cases with the bank now at the moment. I can't mention any names, of course. But we have a TD in the Dáil, and he tells us what's happening in the Dáil, and he told us what happened the night of the bailout. When they were called there, they were called up there at 9, 10 o'clock at night. We didn't know till midnight. But they all went to the bar and they were all pissed as farts at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and they were handed like a telephone book. Now this is serious.
Yeah.
They were handed like a telephone book to vote on what was within that book, you know, yes or no, you know.
Yeah.
And they should have had 3 weeks or maybe a month to read through that book before they voted on it, and they were made to vote that night because of the whip system, you know.
Yeah.
Once Ed McKenny voted yes, all his party has. You see, McNulty hung himself because of the same thing. He was a lovely politician. He was Fine Gael, and he was a nice guy, and he was very, very good to his electorate, very good to the people. But his power, as you say, the whip system, drove that man to kill himself because he could not go against his constituents. And when they told him you had to vote this way, he said, I can't do it. I told the public that I wouldn't betray them. And Kenny told him, you either vote yes or else. And he went and hung himself. Well, that's how much they cared about themselves, you know.
Let's talk about this party whip system, just to clarify it for people. Like a corporate company, the first thing is the survival of the company, and the first thing for the politicians is the survival of the party. That's first and foremost. That's over the Irish people. Then comes the actual members in the party, if you're lucky. But if there's a massive protest and a member in the party is the one that caused it, then what they do is go, we'll sack him, and that will throw him to the lions, and that will keep us, you know, people will think that we're actually doing something right for them. But people, they have to remember that the first thing is like any corporate company, it's the survival of the company. Exactly. They don't give a monkeys about the people of Ireland. Right?
No, they don't
Enda
care.
Kenny, they don't care. They never will care. And I keep saying this to people, and they think, oh, like, you know, maybe this time we'll vote. We'll do Fianna Fáil because Fine Gael didn't do a good job last time. It's, as you say, Dermot, it's Tweedledum, Tweedledee politics. It's just
you
madness.
have to get around and you have to get this message. I'm going around the country all the time. Loads of people like me are going around the country educating people and telling them what's happening, telling them the truth of what's happening. They don't know the half of what's happening here in Ireland with the 3 days.
Yeah,
They
Steve,
just don't know the half of it.
you've questions, have you?
Yeah, Dermot, I'm just wondering, I mean, I know you're saying you didn't have a lot of money, but when you needed to get it, you were able to get it to take on Irish Water. How can people help you? I mean, is there any way that people can help you if they don't have any money?
The one thing I cannot do, I cannot ask, I'm very independent. I used to have my own business. I had a small digger, I had 2 men working for me, and I was quite happy with that. I was quite happy. I'd come home in the evening, I'd just get my boots off, I'd have a shower, I'd sit down and go out to work 6:30 the next morning. And then the banks gambled on the stock market. Going back to these banks again. When them banks gambled on the stock market, they took away my whole livelihood. I was bankrupt within 6 months, and then the taxman chased me for 14 grand and this, that. They still chase me today. They won't be getting it. But they've ruined my life, you know.
Yeah.
My 2 daughters live in England. I have to send letters to them. I can't afford to send a fare for them anymore to come over to me. I was able to do that all before when I was working. Them banks destroyed my life, you know. And then not only did they destroy my life, then they sent out the bailiffs to take my home 3 years ago. So I just said, hang on a minute now. I'm at the bailing you people out. I'm fucked if I'm letting you take my home, you know. So I went in and took a summons against my bank. And they were a bit taken aback. They said, how dare you summons us? I said, I'm summoning you to court and I'm going to sue you for €1 million. Because I want my pension rights that you took from me. I want all the loss of earnings. And I want the damage that you've done to me mentally and physically. I said, because I'm a wreck because of you. You know, 10 phone calls a day they used to phone me here. And I took them to court. And then I had to give it a statement of claim, and I'm going through that process now. But if I had gave in there 3 years ago, the bailiffs would have just threw me out in the street. But I stood up and I said, no, I'm going to fight for myself. And I took a summons against them, and now I have them in the court. And since then, I went to the hub and I self-educated myself on the laws. I read up on the Basel rules about the banks, this and the other. And I have gained information about them that they don't like, you know. And I have all this information. And about 6 weeks ago, they were sort of getting nearer. Because I don't think I'm the plaintiff, so they have to wait till I come into court. So they were sort of putting a bit of pressure on me there 8 weeks ago. And I had these 60 questions that I have here that I had up ready to ask them, you know. And they were giving me a bit of pressure. When are we going to court? And I just sent them off them 60 questions. I said, we go to court when you answer these questions. I need these for my affidavit. And that shut them up completely. Because if they answer half of these questions that I put to them, they will get themselves involved in they won't want to answer them. And
they'll be hanging themselves.
They're going to land themselves in the shit, you know.
So they'll be hanging themselves, basically, yeah?
Hanging themselves. So it's a question now that they have, Jesus, if we take this guy into court and this comes out where he's out there asking us, and then if we don't answer these questions, the judge is going to say, why didn't you answer Dermot's questions, you know?
Yeah.
So I just sent that off. Now, I haven't heard a peep out of them since 8 weeks ago now. They just leave me alone, you know. But even, having said that, even if they did get a court order against me and got the bailiffs, I still won't be leaving my home because the sheriff's powers were abolished in Article 131 of the Lands of Conveyancing Act. But people don't know this. You need to tell the people this. In the Land of Conveyancing Act, where they just brought out there last year, 2011, Article 131, the sheriff's powers are abolished. So the sheriff can't throw you out of your house, provided you stay in your house. But people are opening the door to him, and as soon as he gets the door open, he puts his foot in, and the thugs barge in behind him. So if the sheriff comes to your door, you just go over to the glass pane, and you say, hello, can I help you? And he say, yeah, can you open the door? Say, no, I'm not opening the door. And there's nothing he can do. He can't kick the door, and he can't break in the doors, he can't do anything. He has to walk away, you know. Once you have that piece of paper, put it up to the window, say your powers are abolished in the Article 131, 133, there you go, you know.
Yeah, but that's kind of like putting up a no consent sign to Irish Water. They're just going to ignore it anyway. But if you deal with him, if you converse with him through the window, is that not kind of similar to your engaging with him?
Yeah, but there's nothing he can do. He wants possession of the house. So in order to get possession of the house, he has to get you outside the door, you know.
Yeah.
So once you're inside in your home and you're not prepared, you have to sign a form for that sheriff to say you're handing over possession. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you have to sign a form for him. And he'd be saying to you, come on, we want possession, we have a court order. And say, well, I'm not leaving the house. And he'd say, come on, you have to open the door, we're going to break it in. Say, well, go ahead and break it in, I'll charge you. I'll sue all Odious, you know. They can't break in the door. And if you do break in the door, it's breaking and entering. Now, we're talking about Irish Water. I want to get back to Irish Water. This is very important for people who's thinking about sending back their packs. as I said, we put out that notice and we got whistleblowers, and one of the whistleblowers that worked in the bank went on to work with Irish Water. He's actually a good friend of ours now, and he works beside Irish Water. And when last week it was, the newspapers put out that 800,000 people had registered or sent in their forms. He phoned me and he was in knots of laughing. He says, Dermot, don't listen to that shit that's in the paper. He told me, I'm looking at the screen here of the registration so far. He says 80,000 people up to last Thursday had signed up,
80,000?
80,000. And he said to me, Dermot, of them, he says, you're going to laugh at this. He says, half of them have made a mess of the forms. They didn't put their PPS number, they marked in the wrong squares, they didn't tick the boxes, this, that, and the other. He said, so you're looking at 43,000 people that have registered so far. Now, he said, you're going to get a lot of spin out here now. Be careful and watch what's going to happen. And right enough, he was right. The next day, out come Wicklow County Council that they were going to evict people from their homes if they didn't register. And then the landlords could come out saying they were going to evict the tenants if they didn't register. That was the fear factor.
Yeah.
And a few people did sign up after that, but not many, about 10,000. So really, they only have about 50 or 60,000. And that's why they're coming out with this income tax now. They're going to charge it 4%. They're going to divide and conquer. It's a good tactic with them. They're going to set the working people against the unemployed, Why should we pay 4% tax and these others pay nothing, and all this? And they're trying everything because Irish Water are finished. They're dead, They're gone.
I think, Dermot, what we need to be doing is to be now looking at, we know people are upset, we know everybody was out, they did a brilliant job, fair play to everybody, and it went off very peaceful, and I completely agree with you that the whole political side, they stay away because this is a citizens' movement. It's nothing got to do with politics or any party at all.
Nothing got to do with them.
Nothing, exactly. But I think what we need to do now is to sort out a party or sort out something that, a party that people can say, right, that's the problem, there's the solution, the elections are coming up, let's go for that party. And obviously what we'll have to try and do is to make sure that when people are getting the votes counted, that not, unlike the Scottish devolution, where there's a video of people, the yes votes going into no votes.
Oh yeah, well they'll try anything. You see, they have a lot more to lose than we have.
Of course,
they will try anything. Now on the National Citizens Movement page, if you're on there and watch the comments, nearly every fourth or fifth comment is saying, why don't you set up a party? Why don't we set up a party? There's a problem there because I'm with direct democracy myself. I put up the posters for Ben Gilroy.
Yeah.
And the other person that set up this with me is Alan Laws. He's from People Before Profit.
Yeah.
And the other girl, Elizabeth Hurahan Cork, she's an independent. So in order for us to set up a party, the three of us will have to sit down together and, like yourself, come to some arrangement and put up a sort of a mandate, if you like, or a constitution, write up what we want. And basically, I want what you want. I want a proper, fair society.
Yeah.
And I want these politicians with their ex-bankers and Bertie Ahern, I want them to be taxed. And I want the articles put back into the Constitution. So we have to do all of this. Yeah. And we've sent in a thing to Ed McKenney already. We said the people have said no to the water charge. So you either abolish them, or by the 10th of December, if you don't abolish them, we've given them a timeline. So by the 10th of December, if you don't abolish them, we're going to surround the dollar. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah, which is exactly what he did in Iceland. 5,000 people.
That's what we're going to do on the 10th of December. Yeah. If he doesn't abolish these charges by the 10th of December, there's going to be 100,000 or maybe 200,000 people outside that doll, back in front. And then you see, you've only got 13,000 guards and you've got 7,000 army. And they won't come near the crowd like that.
No. Well, just to remind people that in Iceland, what Iceland did, they have a population of 317,000 people. And 5,000 of them people, which is quite a lot from the 317, surrounded the presidential palace and refused to go anywhere. And they said, they had the president...
They had banging them.
That's right, they had a referendum, and they knew they had to ask the people, and he said, right, well, I'm going to have a referendum then. Do you want to bail out the bondholders? And 73% of them said no. And there was so much pressure put on Iceland to get them to pay the bondholders, and Iceland said they just blatantly refused, which is fair play to them. Now,
we were given that option too. Same as Iceland, we were saying, but what happened was the spin came out. There'll be no money left in the machines, the hospital workers won't be paid, the guards won't be paid. All bullshit. All we had to do was just tap into our oil, our fishing grounds, our water, our cattle. We could live here. You see, Dubai has only one thing. The whole place is just sand. They've nothing but oil. And we have twice as much more oil than Dubai. And nearly every person, you never see homelessness in Dubai. Nearly everybody's driving around millionaires there,
Yeah.
And they're driving gold-plated cars, silver-plated cars, chromium-plated, all sorts of Mercedes and Rolls-Royces, the whole lot. The police have Lamborghinis. And just because of the oil. and we have twice as much oil as them. So if we get these Americans, Bertie Ahern, he's corrupt, he gave them the license for the oil, and so did Ray Burke. Ray Burke went to jail. So there you have a corrupt politician that hands over our oil, that goes to jail. So his signature is null and void.
Yeah, totally.
And now we have the bailout. We have Lenihan signed the bailout. If you had direct democracy there, Articles 47 and 48, he wouldn't have been able to sign that. He would have said, oh, no, I can't do that. I have to put it to the people first.
Yeah, no,
and then we would have had a referendum and decided whether we want to pay or not. The most important thing about Lenihan, when he signed that, one man signed that bailout, and he signed the whole thing. He was under morphine at the time for cancer. So when you're not compos mentis, all the documents are null and void. Now, that's the case we're taking at the moment. We're going to go with that, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, one of the things that I've been putting out there and saying to people about a solution temporarily. Now, we know at the moment that the current government is a provisional government under the Royal Oireachtas. But what I was suggesting, and it's only a suggestion, was that there's a technical group of independent TDs, independent. So that technical group take over the government, the running of the government, and their first goal will be, the first job will be to bring in back direct democracy. Yeah. And then from there, we'll start the process of starting the referendums and start voting and deciding how we're going to run the country. But let the technical group of independent TDs take over, because I know that I'm pretty confident that if we had the likes of Ming Flanagan, Claire Daly and Mick Wallace involved with that technical group, they will make sure things get done and things get sorted.
There's great people in this country, really brilliant people in this country, more clever. You have a teacher in there, you have a pig farmer and all, you know nothing. You have 2 or 3 advisors. But you have really intelligent people in this country that can run this country.
Yeah, well, this is why do we have a school teacher who knows nothing?
But this is what happened. That's Cradle Day and Cradle Lum. That's what you vote for. And that's going to go on until we change it. And that's what we have to do. Now, what we might do with the National Citizens Movement is we might, from every town of the country, Mullingar, Tullamore, we might get representatives from the National Citizens Movement to stand forward in 2016. Now, people are calling for a general election tomorrow. I don't believe that'll be good for us.
But can we get rid of the government? If we have a general
election tomorrow, we won't have enough time. They call that for 6 weeks' time.
Yeah.
It would not give us enough time. They have the money to put posters up and there's media and all the papers and the news and telly. Yeah. We won't have nothing like that.
Yeah.
We're just grassroots. We'll be going around begging with a little cup on O'Connell Bridge trying to get money for posters. Yeah. We need time, and I think the right time is to wait till 2016. Choose our moment then, and between now and 2016, get a representative from every county here in Ireland, or 10 or 20 in Dublin, and put ourselves forward and go in and just have a whitewash and just go straight in and throw the whole lot of them out. Yeah,
definitely, big time. Now, I would say, Steve has a question there about you now in a minute, Steve. Yeah, no, that sounds like a brilliant idea. And somebody also suggested on Facebook, and I thought it was a good idea, that you had 100,000 protesters, right? So imagine if each protester donated €1 to the fundraising to help whichever party it is that we want to get in there, on the proviso that when you get in, the first thing you do is reinstate direct democracy. You'd have 100,000 straight away in your coffers.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But you see, you don't need a whole direct democracy. It doesn't have to be direct democracy itself. You can just get the articles in. That's what we need back then. Because the Articles 47 and 48, no matter who's in power, if they have them in, that is direct democracy, then two articles. It gives the power back to the people.
Yeah, totally. And this is what I've been saying on Facebook and saying to everybody, the power has to go back to the people. That's why in 19...
I put them articles up, and you'll probably see it on my page, Dermot Murphy, if anybody wants to look on it. I put them articles up 3 times last year I put up, please sign to get our articles back in, and I got 212 people on that, you know.
Yeah.
When I put a photograph of me cat up, I got nearly 500.
But that's how it works, Dermot. You know, I mean, I think what we have to do is definitely have a coalition of different people, but the common ground is that we're going to have to, agree on, say, 5 things that need to be done when you get in. Right, and then 5 things will be, whatever they are. One of them obviously being direct democracy.
You have to draw up a constitution and get everybody to sit down together and write down what's the best thing to do for Ireland. Write it down, and if the people like it, oh no, we don't like that, then you change it. You say, okay, we'll put that in instead. But then when you get the constitution right, then you put it out to the people. Say, this is what we want for Ireland, you know.
Yeah, but we have to wake up the people today.
But the good thing about it is I've been going around the last since the bailout, and I've been trying to wake people up, even my own family. You know, my family were going to get the people in the white coats to lock me up. He thought I was mad, and I just said, look, I know what I'm doing, and it's great to see all the people coming out now, you know.
Well, Steve has a great story about that, but yeah, before you might want to say that, Steve, about your family is just a 360, isn't it?
Yeah, I had the exact same thing there. When I started waking up first a couple of years ago, well, it must be about 4.5 years ago now, and all the information that I was learning at the time, I was passing it on to my family. I was sharing it with them, and most of them thought I was the same as yourself. I should be locked up and put away somewhere. And it's actually now only last week. My brother still, the jury is still out there. He's not interested in anything I have to say anyway. But
is he walking?
He is, yeah.
Well then, you see, when they're walking, it's not so bad.
Yeah, but my sister, my mother, she kind of starts to see things for what it is. I shared information with her. My father's the very same. I shared information with him, and I announced it last week. My sister was down, and even she has joined the Irish water fight. And she actually said to me last week, she said, "I want to apologise to you, Stephen." So why? She says, "Because for a long time I thought you were going off the rails, and I really believe that," she said, "with all this stuff you were coming out with. But it's only now," she said, "that I can see that you were on the money." And she said, "I just wish I could have seen it at the time." But like she's starting to wake up now, and as I say, she's joining the fight with Irish Water. She went on the protest the past 2 marches. She's going to the meetings. The People Before Profit, I think she has joined up with them, or she's subscribed to them as well. So I think that there is hope for everybody. But come here, the question I want to ask you, Dermot, is I only heard there today. No, sorry, I tell you, it was yesterday when we were actually on the protest march in Kells. I went across. We had the baby with us, and she was a little bit, well, she was in a pram and she wasn't happy about it. And we went across to the shop to get her something, just so she could nibble on. And they had the newspapers outside the door at the Super Value there in Kells. One of the headlines was talking about Enda Kenny and his 4% interest rate hike. That if we don't pay this thing, he's going to jack up the interest rate by 4%. Do you reckon will he do it and get away with it? And if he does, what happens next?
Well, what he's doing is they want this Irish water running no matter what,
Yeah.
Because the Troika have told him if they don't get the Irish water running, they're going to come after the public sector cuts. Now, he's had to doing away with that the other night. You've probably seen it. They took the law that could cut the public sector away. So that leaves only one people left to cut. They can't cut us anymore. We're cut to the bone. They've taken the medical cards. We have nothing left to give, And the only people left to cut now is the Dáil and the ministers and the ex-ministers and the RTE and the solicitors and the barristers. And the Troika will come after them. Because the Troika will want that money. That 8 billion has to be paid regardless of what happens, They want that money. So they're fighting for their money, If you notice every budget, the first thing the government does is ring-fence their wages. That's what they do. They ring-fence 112 million. That's for them for the year. That's it. That's not to be touched. And then they cut us to the bone. They cut everybody else then after that. For every budget, they say, right, that's our wages sorted out here, we're sorted out for the year, and then they cut everybody else to the bone. Now, they were going to hammer us this year, and I know this from the politician that we have inside. Noonan was going to hammer us this year with 2 billion budget. He was going to hammer us again. But when that march happened there, to the march before this one, he changed his tune and he gave us a soft budget,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if you want to call it soft.
So they're coming out with a threat. I don't think he'll actually come up to the 4%. He said 4% on income tax. Now, to me, that's sort of a divide and conquer thing, because what he's going to do is set the working people against the unemployed and all,
Yeah, of course. Now, is there any way that we can call a referendum or do something like
there's
a vote?
No way, because
a vote with no confidence.
You can get 200,000 signatures, you can get 500,000 signatures, and you can hand them to the president. But the president will ask you, what law will I apply this to in the Constitution? What article? There's none there. They took them out. If the articles were there, Articles 47 and 48, and you went in with your 75,000 or 100,000, you'd say, oh yeah, that's exactly what that article, right, let's go ahead with that. But there's nothing there. They took the class section away.
But they've no right to take it out, because it wasn't up to them to take it out in the first place.
If they wanted to take them 2 articles out, they should have had a referendum from the people to say they want them removed.
So it's null and void.
But they didn't, they just took them out.
Well, it's null and void then. They couldn't, they're still in there as far as we're concerned.
Yeah, but try getting them back in. I've been trying for years. I've been emailing all the politicians. I want them articles back in, and why can't we? And you just get fobbed off. They don't want them in because the public and the general public can challenge them. They don't want them in.
And this is why the whole direct democracy process was taken out in the first place in 1928, because...
1937.
Right.
And that's what the first Fine Gael government that came to power took out the two articles, 37 and 48. He took them out immediately.
Was it 28 when Eamon de Valera went to Cosgrave, and then Cosgrave ignored them, and then 37 they officially kind of took them out?
Yeah, it was the first Fine Gael government that came to power. They looked at the two articles and said, right, they're gone. We don't want the public to be able to challenge us, you know.
Yeah.
And then we had a right to a class action suit in the courts, you know.
Yeah.
So a few years later, he thought to themselves, hang on now, the article's gone now, they can still get a class action suit, because if you look at 500,000 people taking a court case against anybody, it's very threatening, you know.
Yeah. No,
they got rid of that straight away. Get rid of that. So they took that out as well. Now I have to face Irish Water. I have to face them on my own now. I would have loved to go up there on behalf of the National Citizens Movement with 22,000 behind me, attached to my summons.
Yeah.
And walked in there with the whole case full up with 22,000 people and the court full, and say, I'm here because all these people feel frightened of this video now as well. And with this dye that can be put in my water or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
But I can't do that now because he took that right away. They want me to walk into that court on my own. So they get the top class barristers, Callahan, the top money, the best of barristers, and they will attack me in that court. And the only thing I have going for me is the last remnant of the Constitution that's left, is the Article 43.1, that I have a right to bodily integrity. And that's the only article that I'm depending on. And that judge has to go with me. If he doesn't, and he wills for them, that's okay. I'll just appeal his decision, and I'll go to the Supreme Court. And if they do the same, which they probably will, I don't know, then I'll go to Europe, you know, and I will win the case in Europe. You know?
What if they just take that article out there and be done with it? And say, okay, there's no article there now.
They could. They could take that out tomorrow now, because they might look and say, oh, Dermot Murphy's taking the case, get rid of that article. There's nothing we can do to stop them. They can do what they like, you know. We've elected them in there, and the excuse that they have then is, actually, you elected them, we're doing what you told us, you know.
Okay.
But they're not doing. Nobody represents me.
No, that government is not representing me, and doesn't represent the majority of people in Ireland either. Of what they do.
Nobody. They represent themselves. That's all they do.
Yeah. Well,
as Alan said earlier, they fix the pothole for you. That they're great people. You know, you get your medical card brought back in. They're fabulous people. You know.
But isn't it gas how that you speak to the local people and you go, oh sure, he's a nice guy, and you think his party is destroying the country. Do you not get it? What part of destroying the country do you not understand?
Yeah, but you see, what you have a feeling... See, that's what I tried to explain to people before. They're saying, who votes for these people? But when you have the likes of Fine Gael, and then you have their sons and their daughters and their nieces and their aunts, and all these nieces and aunts and daughters all have friends as well, you know?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And them friends have friends as well. So when somebody wants a job, you say, oh, well, I know so-and-so, so-and-so, sure, his father's in Fine Gael. And then some friend of a friend of a friend of a friend, and it runs that far. They do favours for people, and they get them jobs, and they put them in top class jobs all around. These jobs don't go out to tender.
No,
they go out to family members and friends of family members. You see any of these top jobs that's around Ireland, and look at RTE. Trace the names of the people that's there, and they all trace back to Fine Gael or Fianna Fáil. You know?
Yeah, it's nepotism. That's what it is. That's
what it is. It's one huge big party, and we're not invited to it.
Yeah,
and the only way we get into this party is if we gate crash it. You know.
Okay, so the plan of attack is that a party needs to come together with at least 5 bullet points to say, right, this is a party, it's made up of different external parties, like the People Before Profit, Direct Democracy, right? And then, so we need to get that party together, ready for 2016 or wherever the election's going to be, right? And then we need to start getting people on board and all agree that, yeah, they're the 5 things that need to be done, and when they're done, then you step back and then, you know, get things sorted, right?
Yeah, but it has to be, you have to get people, put people forward that have never been with any political party ever. Because the last elections there, the by-elections gone by last year there, you had all these independents coming out, and they were with Fianna Fáil before everybody, with Fine Gael, but they had finished off and blah, 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 and they went as independent, and as soon as they got into power, they went back to Fine Gael again.
Yeah, no, definitely
That's what the people have to watch out for.
Yeah.
Make sure that who you're voting for has never been attached to any political party whatsoever, and make sure that he signs the people's contract.
Right.
That if he does anything, he's out. You know?
Well, that's the deal. Any politicians that have been in politics before need not apply because you won't be asked to get involved.
Exactly.
Right?
And the way, like, people have asked me, why don't you stand for? They've asked me last year, Dermot, why don't you stand? Why don't you go for the elections? This and the other. And I said, there's two things that's stopping me from going for elections, or standing for elections, I said. The way the Dáil is at the moment, I said, I'm not allowed inside of there. I said, for two reasons. I said, I have morals and I have principles. I said, and until that changes inside in that house in the Dáil, I can never go in there.
Mm. Yeah.
And that's the truth.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I totally agree. And we just need, you know, I think people have they have a certain impression of what a politician is. To be honest with you, it's best that you are not a kind of a politician kind of person or think that you have to act a certain way. Just be yourself, and if you just want to help the country and help the people as their forefathers did years ago, then you got the qualifications for the job. If you have skills in a certain area, all the better.
Exactly.
You know,
There's loads of them in Ireland. There's loads of people, very intelligent people in Ireland, really intelligent people that understand our Isle, that understand all the fishing grounds. You get the people that's involved in the fishing grounds that stand up. You've got dozens and dozens of people that understand everything about our resources, you know.
And of course, as you say, they have to sign the mandate. And if they go in and the ego starts kicking in. Yeah, well,
and you said 5 bullet points. Well, you put 10 bullet points down. This is what we want. One, the oil. We want the oil back, blah, blah. We want the fishing grounds back, this, that, and and you draw up the whole lot. And this is what we're going to do when we get into power. And then on the very bottom you said, and then we go after the ex-ministers. Because you Bertie Ahern collecting €2,700 here. Every week he collects that pension, and he's in 2 top-paid jobs.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with that.
No,
I'm on the Dáil here in Mullingar. And if I take work for one day, I have to go down and tell them, and they'll deduct my Dáil, you know.
Yeah. No, this
fucker has 2 jobs, and he's getting 200,000 a year for one. He's getting 180,000 for the other, and he gets 40 grand for an hour's talk here and there in Libya, wherever he goes. And he gets 2,700 paid from us for being found to be corrupt. He was found corrupt on a Wednesday in the court. The judge was going to send him to jail on Friday, and on Thursday he resigns and he can't touch it.
Yeah. No,
we must be off our bleeding heads, I tell you.
But we are. But I mean, they used to say the stupid Irish. But I mean, you can't blame them for saying that, because we're letting these people get away with this. It's blatant in our face, and we're letting them get away. I mean, I have to say no more. After yesterday in the protest in Dublin, the 100,000, I think people are beginning to wake up now and think, hang on a minute, it's
about time as well. Now we have to build on this now for the 10th of December. We've given Kenny his option. You either abolish these water charges, forget about this 4%, or else for coming to the Dáil, and you'll be resigning, because we're not leaving that Dáil until he gets out of there.
Well, maybe you should spell it out for the TDs, and everybody should. I mean, number one, don't be afraid to email your TD. Don't be rude to them. Okay, I did call Thomas Byrne a parasite, which they are.
Well, you're quite right there.
I know, but what I'm saying is, when you email them, because if you email them, just be polite and say, right, where's your stance on X, Y, and Z? Now, I did email Dominic Hannigan, who's a Labour TD in County Meath, and I asked him, and I said, you know, what's your stance on the water charges? He said, I agree with them. Now, with his statements from that email, I could just feel the arrogance of the email. The way he wrote it, I could feel the arrogance and the ego there from a TD.
And who the fuck are you to be asking me anyway?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is the attitude they have. And one of the things I'd say with this mandate, if anybody's going into politics, as soon as that, you know, green-eyed monster or that ego starts kicking up, then the referendum's called and he gets sacked. Because the trouble is, and I've seen it in the corporate world, give people a little bit of power and they start kind of going mad with it. You know, they become maniacs. So,
absolute power corrupts, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the problem. We need to control that. And if the ego starts kicking in and they think they're high and mighty, then they need to be kicked out by the people. And that has to be kept in mind, because I've seen that enough times in the corporate world. You know, people are great, you know, on the road, you know, no power and everything else. They chat, you know, nice people. As soon as they get a bit of power, you know, they go, oh, well, me mate there, I'll get him in and I'll get my mate. And then it starts again. So we have to be careful of that and not let that happen. And this is why the DD process is great, because we can sack them, we can get rid of them.
There has to be accountability, and that's what the National Citizens Movement was brought together for, to get accountability and to bring these people before the courts and make them accountable, you know, and that's what we're doing. Elizabeth down in Cork has a constitutional issue about the water meters, about them trespassing on her property, this, that and the other, and she's got Crohn's disease, this, that and the other, and the water will be very bad for her, you know, this, that and the other. And if they cut off her water, she's taking the car because Hogan threatened to cut her water off. And that would basically kill her with the disease. She has to have a lot of water. And here's this guy threatening her that he cut her water down and basically she'd die. So she took a court case against them as well, and I have a court case against them, you know.
Yeah, plus the fact that I rang the land registry, and the land registry said that your property boundary goes to the centre of your road.
Yeah, your curtilage, it goes to the centre of the road. Most of them, mine doesn't have, funny enough, but 99% of them do. The way my house is situated, it's in a sort of a cul-de-sac, and it's an access road for turning right and left, but mine only goes to the end of my footpath. That's why I couldn't put my van straight over the hole. I put it on my drive with the front of it sticking over, you know.
Yeah, no, it's and I know there's still meters going in, and of course, you know, the Gardaí being involved and the government using the Gardaí as a private security firm for a private company. I mean, how ridiculous is that?
Well, you see, the guards get a budget every year, and a few weeks ago, the guards' budget for the year run out. They had a budget up to next April, but it's gone. So my question is, where are they getting paid from now? Where's the money coming from? Is it Dennis O'Brien? Or I sent in the question. I asked, where's the guards' money coming? The budget is gone.
Yeah.
So where are they getting the money from?
Yeah.
Where did the guards in the Isle over in Sligo, or the Rossport, where did they get the money from?
Exactly.
That's what I'd like to know. See, it's all, as I said, it's one big party, and we're not allowed into it.
Well, I'd like to know where all the money went to that should maintain the water in Ireland originally, because they're all on their jollies and spending money left, right and centre. Where did that 1.2 billion go to?
1.2 billion. Just a few weeks ago, Irish Water were given 11 billion in assets and whatever it was, assets and resources. They were given 11 billion in cash and resources, cash and assets, whatever it was, you know. Now, I said in the questions, where is that 11 billion gone? Who has it? How much cash is there? How much assets are there? And what cash is there? No answer. That's 11 billion they were given from all the councils around Ireland. There was a councillor that said that to me. He says, Dermot, I can't say this because I'm a councillor, I'll get into trouble. Would you start getting the question out to people? Ask them where the 11 billion has gone that the council have handed over to them. This is serious, this is serious shit with this.
No,
if you allow this in now, don't forget the broadcasting charges coming in January, February.
Right.
They're coming with that now.
Yeah, exactly, the switch to the broadcasting from the TV licence. Steve, do you have any questions there?
The legislation is drew up about that. We have all that ready. Do you know that the water legislation was signed into law last Christmas Day? While we were all enjoying our families and playing with our kids and opening the toys and all, they were inside the doll doing the legislation for the Water Services Act. You couldn't make it up.
Yeah. That's, it's mad. Do you have any questions, Steve?
Yeah, I have a question there come in from Liam. Dermot, Liam was wondering, can you ask Dermot about the Aarhus Convention that they have to ask the people?
The precautionary principle. It's basically the same. It's like our constitution, if you like. And I'm applying some of the Aarhus Convention to my case, you know. It's like as I said, my bodily integrity. That's in the Aarhus Convention as well. Now I'm applying parts of that to my case because I got it in Tony Rochford, you know, and Brendan Kelly.
Yeah.
So I will be applying parts of that Aarhus. It's very, very powerful. And our government signed to that 2 years ago, so they'd have to be respectful of it, you know. Yeah,
part of Liam's question says, the convention that they have to ask people about our resources, public participation in decision making.
Do they have to ask people?
That's what Liam says. He says that they have to ask the people about our resources, and then he says public participation.
They never asked us about our oil. Bertie Ahern went and signed that off. We didn't ask anybody. We used to get 75% of the oil, and the oil company got 25%. And then they cut it down to 50%, and Bertie went and cut it down to 25%. Now we get 25%, and that oil company gets 75%. It should be the opposite way around. Norway gets 78% of the oil that comes out of the ground, and the company gets the rest. And that's the way we should be. We should get 78% and give them the rest, you know, and they still make a very handsome profit. But if you go down there to Cork, the gas alone, we have 1.4 trillion worth of resources, in Ireland. We could pay off this bailout 10 times over that we owe, you know.
We are so rich as a country. We are so rich in so many things.
It's the biggest fishing ground in the world.
Yeah. And we
can't fish in ourselves, you know. The Spanish and the Portuguese, the French, they're all out there fishing and taking it all back to France and Spain, the whole lot. And their fishermen boats are locked up in the harbour. And if they catch over that catch, you have to throw them back in the sea.
Yeah, I mean, we are so rich in resources.
It's just a joke.
It is a joke. It is a joke, and we need to wake people up. But we need to look, as I say, we need to be focusing on the solution for this election coming up.
There is solutions. That's what I said to people. Go onto my page, Dermot Murphy, or go onto the National Citizen Movement, and you'll see stuff there. You might see links that will be interesting for yourself as well, with different things that you're doing. Because a lot of people post stuff on our page and they say, Dermot, could you put this on the page? Well, we do not put anything political on the page. It's a non-political page. It says it on a non-governmental. Although I'm with Direct Democracy and the other fellow is with PB and she's an independent, we do not put anything political on the page. But people keep asking us every day I go out and saying, when are you going to set up a party? And I say, look, just leave it with us because we have to get a constitution. You can't just make up a party. You have to put a constitution to the people first, you know.
Well, that's what Iceland did, didn't they? They got everybody to...
they did a constitution and they voted on it straight away.
Yeah, they did. They put one together. They asked everybody to contribute to it, and then when they had their constitution, everybody agreed to it. They said, well, okay, that's our new constitution. Why can't...
There was hardly people done that. It wasn't any... They were people that were never elected before.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And we
had a butcher, a baker, a candlestick maker, and they went in talking, and they went into power. They had their advisors, and when the advisor told them what to do, they went back to the people and said, they told me that, and they said, no, don't do it that way. And now they're booming the economy, but you'll never see anything on RTE about Iceland. Well,
we'll have to get Brigitte on the show again and for her to give us an update on how Iceland is doing. How do you propose we start getting the constitution up so people can have a look?
Well, we're going to work on it. Myself, Liz and Alan is going to meet together and we're going to sit down, and he's People Before Profit, I'm Direct Democracy, and Liz is an independent. But all three of us want the same thing for Ireland. We want these judges and the judiciary all sorted out, and we want this corruption that's going on endemic in society with the politicians, and we want our oil and our gas back, and we want our water just to remain in public hands. And we're going to write up a constitution over the coming weeks, and we're going to put it up online to people, say, how do you like that? And if the people want to add, because you have to ask the people, they're entitled to it.
Yeah.
So they can say, no, we don't think that this is right, that is right. And then we keep going at it for a couple of weeks, till we put one out that everybody is happy with. And then we say, right, we're going to run with that. Now we're going to start putting people forward, select your people, but it's not people that it's going to be put on top of you. It won't be Dermot Murphy's going to be voting in here. The community will be going around their community looking for the people that they would like to represent them. Even if they're somebody that's working in a butcher shop or something, but they're a nice man, very intelligent or whatever, and they say, we'd like you to represent us, you know, and you go in there, but you'll be going in under contract, you know.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Well, no, that sounds good.
And that's what we have to do. You have to select your own people, not people tweedledee that's thrown at you. Like you get the devil coming at you, I'm not taking him, I will take the other fellow, so he's not as bad as devil as him, you know.
Yeah. No, it's...
And that's all you have here in Ireland. You've had that for the last 90 years.
Yeah. No, it's...
The people have said no now. See, because I'm going around the country, and a lot of people are going around the country doing talks, and yourselves, you're waking the people up big time. They're starting to realise, hang on, maybe these guys are right, you know, they're not conspiracy theorists. Maybe Dermot went up at 12 o'clock at night and stood outside the Dáil. Why would he do that? Why would he get out of his bed at 12, -5 degrees and go up to the Dáil to stop the thing being signed? People wonder, they say, why would he do that, you know? Drive 40 miles and he's on the Dáil with no money.
Yeah, because we all want the same thing. I think we have more questions coming in there, Dermot. Steve?
Yeah, Dermot, I actually just stuck the name National Citizens Movement into the search engine there just to see what information was coming up, and I just stumbled across a website here called politicalworld.org, and from what I can gather on politicalworld.org, they don't seem to like your methods very much. They're commenting on that you're going to take Irish water to court. They're commenting on the methods you're using, the precautionary principle to negate Irish water meters, etc. And then they're linking up the Facebook page again, Read National Citizens Movement, saying more crap from them, plans to fight Irish water in the courts, and then they're talking about freeman politics.
They're part of the cabal as well.
Yeah.
But they're talking about freeman politics. I'm guessing. I mean,
there's no free. We have that's what he done with Direct Democracy with Ben Gilroy last year when he was running for the elections. He got all these trolls in one line and say he's a freeman. He's this. I know Ben very well. Ben is a family man. And he's nothing got to do with all this, you know.
Yeah, we know Ben, and I know, and this is more about sovereignty. It's not about freeman; it's sovereignty. Being a sovereign. Now, even I know there's going to be people questioning the word citizen because that's more of a kind of a legislation name as opposed to a person or a human being, flesh and blood. Well, not a person, I suppose, human being, flesh and blood. But you can argue the point over certain words, but we know exactly what you mean by it. What
happened when we had that meeting in Cork? There was only the three of us set it up, and there was 100 people in the room, and we said to the people, okay. They decided, we'll get something going. So we said to the people in the room, okay, we need a name for this new group. And they all come up with this front and that front, the People Liberation, this, that, and the other. And then they come up with the National Citizens Movement. I didn't choose the name, they did. So I said, is everybody happy with that name? So a lot of show of hands went up, about 80 people over 190, and we run with that. Now, that could change. You could change that over, you know.
Well, no, I mean, I think
one guy came on and he said because he was foreign, because he was from Bulgaria, he said, that's no good to me because it's only to Irish citizens. And I said to him, are you a citizen in your own country? And he said, yeah. I said, well, then you're a citizen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. Well, look, I think if people know the name, and you might as well, you know, keep with it, because if you start changing it, people get confused. So you're better off sticking to it. What's your situation, or what's your thoughts on the whole union thing? The unions get involved in.
Well, we had the unions down here in Mullingar. They wanted to speak up on the stage here, and I said, no, this is about the people. This march. I said, this march that we've sorted out. What happened with Mullingar? We decided to have a march 2 weeks ago, only 2 weeks ago. And the postman from Mullingar, an ordinary guy, he has his own union, the postman's union or whatever. Myself and Mary and Barty, just ordinary people. And once we got the march up and running, we got the leaflets together and the banners and the whole lot, and then we had it all set up. And just on the very day before, I got a call on my phone from Right to Water. Is that there, Murphy? I said, it is, yeah. What time is your march starting? I said, 2 o'clock. Right, we'll be down there at 1 o'clock. We've a huge banner to put at the front of the parade. I said, what banner? He says, well, the Right to Water banner. And I said, that's not going at the front of the parade. What you mean? He said, we're controlling all these marches around the country. I said, yeah. I said, I don't care why you're controlling the marches. I said, this march here in Mullingar is for the people. I said, it's not belong to Right to Water. It's not belong to anybody. I said, I have friends with Right to Water, it says, in PBP and all. I said, but this march is on behalf of the people. And even on the day Sinn Féin came down and they were in the crowd handing out leaflets, and he wanted to go up on the stage. I said, you're not getting up on the stage. I said, you have done enough damage to the country, you and your parties. I said, you're going to let the water charges in, and then you're going to abolish them when you get the power. I said, I don't trust that. I said, I want them abolished today. And I said, I'm going to tell the people here today that I want them abolished. And that's what happened. And we wouldn't let them on the stage. And I got up and spoke, and then 3 other people got up and spoke, just ordinary people, with no political ties, no mention of any party, and the people loved it. They really loved it, and they were delighted, and they're all going to the march on the 10th.
Yeah. Well, if you look at what happened in Dublin, that councillor got up on the stage, you know, he got booed in Dublin. But he just, and I said to people on Facebook, the guy just didn't get it. He just couldn't resist having to mention the political party.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and they're the people that you have to watch out for. And you have to walk a mile away from these people because they don't get it. Their own selfishness and their own interest in their own party supersedes what the whole idea of the Citizens' March is. And if people go up there and start, you know, shouting out about their party this and party that, when it's a citizens' movement, they're the people who you don't vote for. Make sure that they don't get in, because they're the people only thinking of themselves.
Actually, we've had Sinn Féin attacking our page as well. We've had Fine Gael trolls on the page attacking us that were nutcases, this, that and the other. But that's what you get. Like, we're a serious threat now, 22,000 people in 8 weeks. You can imagine what we're going to be by the 2010. But then you have political war coming on they're all fucking Freeman nutcases. I'm not a Freeman at all. I'm taking Irish water to court on behalf of the Aarhus Convention and different things. No, not all of it. I'm only taking bits out of that because the government signed up to that. Their government did. So they have to adhere to the law of it, you know?
Yeah. Now,
but I'm going on my constitution, Article 43, and if that's Freeman stuff, then I'm a Freeman. But I'm going on my constitution.
Yeah, well, there's a question here come in, and it's fair enough to talk about. One of the listeners there on the chat room said, but aren't you guys promoting another political party? No, we're not. We are. Well, no, myself and Steve like the direct democracy process, right? Now, whether it's the Irish Democratic Party, whether it's direct democracy, whether it's Mickey and Jimmy's party, it doesn't matter, right? As long as that process gets back in. That's the important thing.
Articles 47 and 48 have to be put back in. It doesn't matter who puts them in, as long as it's put in, because then it benefits all of us, you know? Yeah,
well, this is why myself, well, I'm sorry, Steve, I'm speaking for you, but I'm assuming that's the same thing.
No, again, as I have said it before, the process of direct democracy, I support that. I mean, look, if Enda Kenny come out in the morning and said, you know what, I realise the people have spoken, you have stood up, I fully understand where you're coming from, I'm going to put Articles 47 and 48 back in the Constitution, we're going to go around the direct democracy road, I support that. I mean,
yeah, but we'd have a changed country within 6 months.
Of course he would, and for the better.
All of them would be sacked.
Yeah, they would be all sacked. They'd be probably sacked and in jail.
Yeah, well, this is it. That's why he's not going to bring them back in, and that's why I can't get them back in for the last 8 years. I've been trying to get them in, you know.
The same thing when I mentioned about the people about, you have to do some lateral thinking. People are trying to solve the problems with the current system. The current system of politics doesn't work. It's a completely draconian system, and we need to get away from it. It's old, it's antiquated. We need to move on. We need a complete new political system. We need to reissue the punt, give the money back to the people in the country. I'm not an economist, so I don't know. But say the new government issue 50 billion to start off with, or 100 billion, whatever they need. I don't know what the GDP is of Ireland. But they can do the maths to work out what they need. And they can actually have the punt at the same value of the euro if you want to do that, whatever way you want to do it. But once we have that...
GDP is 86 billion we're taking in, and we're paying out 120.
Right, so if we did 150 billion of the punt, maybe 150, 200 billion to get us started on the road, and issue that, and run it through the post offices, don't even run it through the banks. And let the banks carry on, and they can have, they can get a lend of the money from the government as well. And if they want to loan out money and charge interest, that's up to them. But if people can go to the post office and get it for interest free, then at the end of the day, the banks won't be lasting very long.
I know. Actually, the banks have everything controlled here. That's who's behind everything here, the bankers.
Yeah, and of course
behind the whole lot.
And people don't realise that money doesn't exist.
It was all figures on a screen.
Yeah, it's all based now. I've just seen a video. It was sent over to me today, and it was the chap from the Thrive movement, Foster and Gamble, and he has a later video. I'll send it out on the links as well. And he talks about the financial system, and he talks about the Federal Reserve. He talks about the fractional banking system. And he said that's coming down. The system is coming down. That's why Russia has set up the BRICS countries.
Yeah.
The BRICS countries together along with Russia, and started their own banking system and doing their own banking. And I'd like to think that, I don't know really why or how Enda Kenny is tied to a leash with Angela Merkel in Europe, and why they want to kowtow to these Europeans and destroy the Irish people. I don't know. I'd love to shake Enda Kenny and ask him, what is your problem? Is that a brain in that head of yours?
Well, anybody that sits in the Dáil and knows that there's two of their own countrymen. One fella a couple of weeks ago, he put cement blocks into a haversack and jumped into the river. Anybody that sits in the Dáil and knows that that's happening and doesn't care about that, doesn't fucking bring it into Dáil questions, there's something wrong with them.
There's something mentally wrong with them. They must be like sociopaths. They have to be, because you have to have some empathy. I mean, I have an experience of that, a suicide in the family, and myself. So I'm speaking from experience.
No, it's tragic.
And it's tragic. It really is tragic, especially when there's kids involved, and it's just not right. It's just not right. And we have a call coming in. Hang on, Dermot, and we'll bring in the caller. Hello, caller. You're on air. Do you have a question for Dermot? Hi, Patrick.
Yeah, well, I've been up to Carrick Cross there last week. I've been up to Cavan, and I've been all over the place. And where are you? Yeah. Yeah, no problem. I'll give the number to Alan there.
Yeah, you okay for doing that, Dermot? Would you mind?
Yeah, well, you give me the number and I'll ring him, because I'll say what way, because at Carrick Cross I've set up a community up there. They want me to go up and do a talk. I'm not sure which day it is this week. I'll have to meet some meter fairies this week as well. Going around Ireland.
We're going to touch base on it as well. Patrick, your area, you're around Galway, aren't you? Okay, so it'll be around Galway there. All right, Patrick. Oh, brilliant. Oh, appreciate that. Yeah, no, that's great. Dermot, is that okay with you?
Yeah, I'll get his number there, and I'll give the man a ring.
Brilliant. I'll pass on the number. We have Patrick's number there. Cheers, Patrick. Thanks for calling in.
Thanks, Patrick. Cheers, Patrick.
Take care. Bye bye. Now, Dermot, yeah, we said on the show last week there that there's a few meter fairies and leprechauns going around, and people are giving out. They're going mad because they want their meter in. They want to pay the water, and these fairies are going around removing the meter, and they're going mad. What's the story with it?
They meet their fairies. They're up all over the place. They're here in Mullingar and all, and they're all down in Wexford, and they're springing up in Galway, one in Enfield. And they're just going around taking pictures. Some people are afraid of the meters with the signals, that stuff that's coming off, radiation and that. They want rid of them. So they leave a message on the meter. You'll see the meter fairy, Midland Meter Fairy. Go to Facebook and type in Midland Meter Fairy, and go onto his page and leave a message, and he'll get in contact. Leave a phone number for him, and he'll ring you. It was in the paper today, the Daily Mail, Meter Fairies in Ireland. Yeah.
Yeah, no, brilliant. Well, we do have these meter fairies. It's amazing, I mean, Ireland has a history of fantastic tradition, and
we have to keep up the tradition.
Of course. I mean, it goes without saying. Steve.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just actually looking at the article here at the moment, Dermot, of the Westmeath Examiner, the one that has you in holding the box with the water meter.
I sent that back.
Yeah.
The Westmeath Examiner come to my house and he said, "Why did you send it back?" And I told him, because I gave no consent for this meter. I'm already paying for my water charges. I said, the first thing I did when I got a thing through my door saying that in 3 days they're coming to fit a meter in. So I just looked at the form, I got the number, and I found Irish Water. I said, "What are you putting into my house?" And he said, "Oh, well, do you not know about the meters?" I said, "I heard something about them." I said, "Have you got documentation concerning this meter?" He says, "Well, what sort of documentation do you want?" I said, "I want to see what it does. Is it safe?" I said, "I want to see the safety statement that comes with it. Or does it give off us signals?" I said, "I want to see everything concerned with that meter before you put it in." "Oh, well, okay, tell the foreman to bypass your house and we send you out the necessary documents." They never arrived, and the foreman arrived at the door then 3 days later, and I said, "You're not putting it in there." So with that, they got their barriers, and I just looked out the window, and I rushed out, and I pushed my van up as far as I could over the hole, but with 2 wheels on the drive, because that's my property. But the front of my van was sticking over the shore. And they asked me to move the van. I said, "I'm not moving the van, it's on my property." And he said, "Well, you have to move the van and we call the police." I said, "You can call who you like." I said, "The van is on my property and I'm not moving it." So with that, I said, "If you put it in," I said, "I'm not telling your office I don't want that meter." I said, "I've sent them a letter saying I'm not giving my consent." So with that, they got the saw and they put it out further out in the footpath. And then when they had it in, then the next day when the cement was dry, I opened up the thing, I took it out, and I walked down to the farm and I said, "I told you that's not going in." So I put it into a box and I phoned Westmeath Examiner, and they come around and I put it straight back in the post and posted it back to them. Now my safety is cut down by 50% now. I can feel 50% safer because I've put a bung in where the meter was. So anybody that wants to add anything to my water now, they have to carry a 27mm socket with them to take out the bung.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, Dermot, when you gave the story to the Examiner, was the person who you spoke to, the interviewer or the journalist, were they kind of impartial? Did they just take the information? What sort of feedback did you get off them?
They put down exactly what I said. They didn't, because the Westmeath Examiner does not belong to Dennis O'Brien.
Yeah. Oh no, I know.
Yeah. No, actually, talking about the mainstream media, obviously the reason why we exist, OYM, is because the mainstream media is not telling the truth and not getting people on to talk about the truth. So we have to be aware, people have to be aware regarding the likes of the RTEs and the newspapers out there. Tell us what you found out about the mainstream media and Dennis O'Brien and what's going on, Dermot.
Dennis O'Brien owns, if you look up Dennis O'Brien and the cartels that he owns nearly every newspaper here in Ireland. He owns News Talk. I mean, we went to court. The first case, when I went to court 4 or 5 weeks ago, we went in for a judicial review on the constitutional right that we have, that our property couldn't be invaded or trespassed on by Irish Water. Now that judge, Marty Baker, she was a probate judge or something, a nice woman, but she argued with us about the law, the this, that and the other, it's in the Water Services Act, blah, 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 and she wouldn't listen to anything that we were saying until we produced that video. And she says, "Oh, I've no time to look at this video in court." She says, I've people waiting and this, that and the other. But she says, "However, I will look at this video on my lunchtime." Now, this is the video that I'm showing for my evidence in court.
Yeah.
The one where they can add stuff into your water. Now, she looked at that video, and we went over to the pub, and we were saying, "Geez, what's going to happen now? I wonder what she'd say," and blah, blah, blah. And when we came back at 2 o'clock, that judge was visibly changed. And she came out and she says, "This is a very serious matter." That's what she said to us.
Yeah.
And she said, "So I'm giving you leave and liberty," fair play to her, leave and liberty, the cheek of her, "I'm giving you leave and liberty to take this case further." And she said, "I want you to send the plenary summons to the individuals involved with this, whoever which are meeting, and bring them in before the court." And she said, "And I want you to address or attach it to my court," she says, "because I'd like to deal with the case." So we said, okay. So
excellent.
straight away, I went and got my plenary summons, and I went down to Irish Water. Of course, Irish Water is like the banks now. This is how frightened they are. They're afraid of protesters getting in. You have a glass door at the front, and you have a middle glass door, and then another door.
Yeah.
And you can't get in there. You can't just walk in.
Yeah.
So I have to serve the summons to somebody by hand, you see. So I had the summons in my back pocket, and I had another bundle of old bits of newspaper in my hand and bits of letters. And I rang on the doorbell, and this guy came out in a suit, shirt and tie, and he came up to the glass, like what you do with the bailiffs, you know.
Yeah.
And he said, what do you want? And I said, can you open the door? I said, I want to talk to you. And he says, no, what do you want? I said, I've papers here for you. I said, I want to give you papers. And he wouldn't open the door. And I said, I said, there's only myself. I said, I'm not going to do any harm. But I had a guy standing beside me, and he was videoing this. And I said, open the door, will you? And he opened the door, and I said, are you with Irish Water? Because you have to ask them that. I said, are you with Irish Water? He said, I am. And I said, here you go. And I took the summons out and gave it into his hand. He says, what's that? And I said, you've been served. So he was served the summons then, and that was it, you know.
Okay.
So once I served him the summons then, they have to come into court. So they lodged their appearance, blah, blah, blah. They sent me out, asked me for a statement of claim. But what they wanted was, they wanted a statement of claim from me so that, see, these barristers get €450 an hour. So the more they can dilly-dally with statement of claim back and forward, they're getting big money, you know. And I know this, so I thought to myself, hang on a minute. So I went down to the hub and I said, look, I'm not going to waste my time with these guys. I said, what we'll do, we get a notice of motion, which means that you're telling the judge that you want these people into court, you're not hanging around anymore, that you feel that I felt I had enough evidence to get them into court immediately, which I have. So that's €60 for a notice of motion for 3 bits of paper. Can you believe that?
Unbelievable.
€60 for 3 pieces of paper. And they send that to Irish Water. And then Irish Water had to come into court. Then I had to get an injunction paper. Because when I get them into court, I want an injunction off the judge. And I want my meter put back to the safe unit that I was before Irish Water got there. That's all I want. I don't want any compensation. I don't want anything off them. I want to feel safe in my home, that nobody can add anything to my water. And that's what the court case is about. So when the judge says to me, what will you be happy with, Mr. Murphy? I say, I want an injunction against these. I want them to come back and put my meter into a safe condition the way it was before, that nobody can add anything to my water. And that's all I want. Now, if the judge grants me that injunction, it'll mean that Irish Water will have to go around Ireland to all the meters that we've taken out, or put in, and they'd have to take them all out again and put them back to safe units.
Brilliant.
Provided people take a case against them.
Yeah, yeah.
If you have your €210 and your €60 for this and your €60 for that, it costs about €350, €400 to get them into court.
Well, we just have to raise the funds for people who want to do it. You
Exactly.
know, I mean, the way it should work is, if the people who are not protesting can't be arsed and they can't be bothered, well, let them pay for the water. But for the people who don't want it,
we don't want to divide and conquer attitude either. But you see, the people just paying for their water, I've met people that say, oh yeah, it should be paid for. And look, it's only going to be 278. They listen to RTE and they listen to the mainstream media, they listen to the independent, the papers, the Herald and all that. They listen to all this crap.
Yeah.
I went up to a meter the other day. A friend of mine had a meter and he said, Dermot, can you have a look at this? And there was 19,000. He had his meter in 1 month. And there was 19,000 litres registered on the meter. And he said to me, how much is that? So we worked it out. It was about €700 a year. He says, fucking hell. He says, where did you go with the 278? I said, I told you that. He says, lift me neighbours, he said, because he has a child. Now, this guy only had his wife himself. So the man next door had 1 child, and his wife and himself. So when I lifted the man's next door, the little flipped up the lid, it was 26,000 that was on it in a month, you know. So when we put that into the calculator, 26,000 over 12 months is 312,000 litres. Now, if you take the 30,000 allowance off that, it comes to 284,000. And when you multiply that by 4.88, what they're charging, his bill would be €1,500 a year.
yeah. Well, just
Now, people don't know that. These people that's going to pay this don't know that.
but
Once they sign that contract with Irish Water, tick that little box, you wish to become a customer.
Yeah.
If they send out a bill for €1,500, they have to pay that.
but the
And if
problem.
they don't pay it, they will lock them up. Or they won't lock them up, but
Yeah.
they will find them.
Yeah, but the problem is, Dermot, I'm not doing the divide and conquer. What I'm saying is, if it's going to cost £200 or £300 to bring the case to court and they can't be bothered, well, they're just going to have to accept them either. You know, they can't be bothered.
But to be honest, the way Irish Water have said in their own website, that anybody that fails to register and doesn't pay the bills will be fined €424 a year. They'd be honestly better off to pay that fine.
Yeah,
Because the
no,
water is going to be a lot more than that. It's going to be 3 times, 4 times that, you know.
I totally agree.
So
And-
you'd be better off to throw your pack in the fire and just say, wait till the fine comes and pay that, you know.
yeah,
And
exactly.
you'll be paying a quarter of what you're going to be paying.
And then if you go to court and say, well, and they have a statement of means, then you say, look, I'll pay £1 a week.
Exactly.
You know, you
they
can
brought to
play
a
that
small
game.
claims court or whatever they do, and if it goes by your ability to pay then in the court. Because if you go to court and you're on the dole, the judge will say, oh, how much your electricity, gas, blah, blah, your fuel, this, that, and the other. And if you have only €1 left, most people only have €8 left disposable income every week, you know, with the taxes.
Don't even have
so
that.
if you have only the €8, the judge will not take that €8 off you. He'll probably take 2 off you.
Yeah.
And that's all you have to pay.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm going around these meetings telling people, all you have to do is lose the fear. That's all. That's my words. Lose the fear.
Yeah.
Don't be frightened of yourself, because fear, I said, is only 4 letters. It's only F-E-A-R.
Yeah. Well,
once you lose the fear, I said, you'll go against anything.
Well, you just get to a stage where you just think, it gets so farcical, you have to laugh at it. But listen, we have one, we can take one question because we're near enough to time to wrap things up, but go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, Dermot, a question came in from Mick. That's Mick at Liffey Sound FM, one of the good guys. Mick is wondering, how do you feel, Dermot, about getting rid of the Oireachtas via Billy Maguire and the 1918 Constitution?
Well, they all sign up to the Oireachtas anyway. I have the copies here of what they signed. They all sign up to the King George or whatever the hell, you know.
And how do you feel about getting rid of it?
It should be got rid of. Yeah, the Shannon Null should be thrown out, you know, because that's only just a front. When they say, well, it'll go to the Shannon, it'll go here, it'll go there, they're all part of the cabal.
Yeah.
It's all part of it. It's all a game. It's all, you know, we need
it's
to
all a game with them.
Yeah.
Like, you see them sometimes you see them in the Dáil, they're shouting and roaring. That's all a play act. And then they're all in the bar then, because this politician that told us, I'd love to mention his name, he's actually a nice guy, one of the good guys that's in there. And he told me, he says, we were pissed out of our heads. He apologised to 450 of us up in Dublin. We were at a land league meeting, and he apologised to all of us. He said, what I did that night, he said, it shamed me for the rest of my life, he said. I signed all our grandchildren into debt, he said, and I didn't even know what I was signing. He says, they gave me a book like a telephone book, and because of the party whip system, he said, I had to go with what they went with it. He said, I'm ashamed of my fucking life. That's what he said to her.
Yeah. And I totally understand that. Now, we just something that one of our listeners put up there. I don't think Dermot is actually saying that the judicial system works, but you do get the odd judge that kind of, you know, will go on your side for whatever reason, you know, on the odd occasion. And I think that's what's happened in your case. This woman did go out and actually look at the video rather than be a part of the cabal and just like kowtow to what, you know, the government want them to do.
You see, when you go to court, if you present your evidence in a way that is indisputable, there's no choice, you know. But if they can find any little loophole in that, they will attack that. I've seen people going into the courts. Sometimes I sit in the master's courts because I'm involved with banks and people losing their homes and that, and anti-eviction. And I'll go into the master's court, sit down and take notes, and I listen to all the cases, because the master is a teacher. He teaches the barristers about law, and he'll run them out, and he'll chase out the banks, and he'll go mad on them, you know.
Yeah.
And I'd sit there taking notes. But when you go to other judges, the banks will come in, and the defendant will be the people that has the house, and they say, you're going to have a good case against the banks, and they say, well, you got the money, bang, 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 rule for eviction, 6 months stay. They won't even listen to you. They say you have no defence. You were talking about Josephine Feely.
Yeah.
There was a guy in there to pay his property tax, and she had sent a letter to the master's court, funny enough, and he's a good guy. He's only one good guy in there. And this letter had come to the master, and it was addressed to the guy that was there, the defendant, for not paying his tax. And Josephine Feely had said, in her opinion, that this man had no defence. That's what she said. And the master took out the letter and he says, who is this Josephine Feely? Is she a barrister? He shouted to the court, to the barrister that was there defending or going against a man. He says, how dare she turn around and say that this man has no defence?
In her opinion.
She hasn't even seen an affidavit belong to the man.
Yeah.
Anything at all produced at the court, and she's saying that this man has no defence.
But
this, what sort of a clown is this woman? That's what he said.
Yeah, but this is the arrogance of these people.
Well, that's what I mean. That is the arrogance. That's what we're up against.
You know, some of them are so far up their own arse they can't even see daylight.
We're winning. You know what I mean? We are getting there slowly. You know.
You know, and well, it is. Well, we're going to wrap things up. But Dermot, big thank you for coming on to the show, and well done, well done with the National Citizens Movement. And you're more than welcome to come on any time to give us an update of what's going on, because Ireland has to change, and if we don't do the change now, it will never happen. So
not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
It will happen, but the only way it will happen is if we make it happen.
Yeah, it has to be people power, and we all have to go off, and we have to do our bit, and do what needs to be done, and get these parasites out of government, and put in a government that we can be proud of, that will work for the people, and get the country back on its feet.
You were talking about that sheriff. I'll tell you about people power. That sheriff Ahern. There was a man getting thrown out of his farm up there in Trim there about 5-6 weeks ago. And I got a call very early in the morning, 7:30, and I rushed up across to the farm, you know, and I got there on my own. And there was one other guy there, and the sheriff arrived just at that time, that Ahern one with a jeep. And she had 2 van loads of thugs with her from Northern Ireland or whatever. And as she arrived, she drove past me, and she went into this yard, which wasn't belonging to this man's farm. It was a private yard, you know. You never seen this in the media either. So with that, there was a digger, a sort of a loading shovel there, a machine, and I said to the guy, put that machine across the drive, block her in. So he did, he blocked her into the yard. So she came out, she said, what are you doing? And I said, you're blocked in, that's private property. I'm the sheriff of this, that. I said, I don't care who you are, you're on private property. And she says, how dare you? And she started shouting. I said, listen, I said, you've drove in there onto private property, you've no right to be in there. I said, so your car is impounded. And she said, she was going down on nuts. So the police come up, and they were 2 nice coppers, funny enough, and they said, what's wrong? I said, the sheriff drove in there. I said, she's calling herself the sheriff. She hasn't shown me any idea. I don't know who she is. But I said, that lady drove in there. I said, with her car. It's private property. I said, so we blocked her in. The car is impounded. And the guard said, oh, Judge, that's the sheriff of this, that, and the other. I said, guard, I don't care who she is. She's on private property. So the car stays there. So with that, she didn't know what to do. And the guard didn't know what to do. And I said, the car is staying there. So the guard says, oh, we have to talk. But then Ben Gilroy arrived, a few others arrived, then loads of people arrived. So then we done a deal with the sheriff that she take her tugs and the 2 van loads of people that she had and piss off and we give her that car back. And that's what happened that day. People powered again, you see. Again,
and that's what we have to keep doing and get more and more people involved. We're going to have to wrap it up there, Dermot, but we're running out of time. Listen, thanks a lot for coming on. Steve, do you want to get all the details off Dermot there?
Yeah, Dermot, I have the National Citizens Movement Facebook page. I have that up on the link. Is there any other links that you want to throw out there?
Well, you can throw the hub up there, Lay Litigation Ireland and the Land League, you know.
Yep, okay, I'll pop them up as well.
And you'll give Patrick my number or text it on to me, like, you know.
Oh, well, indeed, we'll sort it out. Okay, Dermot, stay with us there for a minute. We're going to go to a piece of probably funky music. I don't know, do we have anything appropriate, Steve?
Yes, we do.
Okay, right. We go to a bit of music, we'll be back after this.
This is Open Your Mind Radio on OYMradio.com, UnitedWeStrike.com and PeoplesInternetRadio.com.
And we're back. Status quo, rocking all over the world. That's I just thought that song would be appropriate because that's what the Irish people are starting to do now, aren't we?
Exactly.
We're rocking all over the world.
Rocking all over Ireland. A big thank you for Dermot and the National Citizens Movement. Brilliant information, and I'm sure we could have went on for another hour to talk about what's going on, but look, well, I think we got most of the things we needed to say. A big thank you again to everybody in the protest. It was fantastic. Some brilliant camaraderie. Steve, tell us about the north side, south side thing in Dublin.
Yeah, I know I mentioned last week that I was going to be going to the protest in Dublin, but as it turned out, the rain, because we were bringing the whole family, the baby and all, it was bucketing down rain here yesterday morning in Kells. So I decided, lastminute.com, that we would go to the local protest and as opposed to the Dublin one. But my family was represented, as I said, in the Dublin. My mother was there, my father was there, and my sister was there. So, you know, I was represented anyway, so that's fine. But, yeah, ours was kind of, we had a few speeches, there was a lot of rain, and then we all took to the streets. We done a march around Kells, and that was it. But my sister, she was talking to my wife earlier, and she said the one in Dublin, she said it was just amazing. She said you had all the people on the north side on the quays. They were coming up one side, people on the south side coming up the other side. And said that they were all kind of shouting across at each other, you know, not in a bad way. And we all know, as I was just saying to Alan before we come on live, there's always been this kind of, the North Siders and the South Siders. But she said it was amazing because she was on the North side, and said there was a lot of banter going on between the two groups. And then she said it was beautiful the way they all kind of emerged then from the North side and the South side onto, I think it was O'Connell Street, she said. And she said it was just amazing. It was just a big group of people, all fighting the same fight, just coming together. North side, south side, didn't matter.
Brilliant.
I just thought it was great.
Now, the one thing I will say is just remember, you know, we are very kind of tied up with this water meter thing, but there's other things going on globally as well. and we don't want to take the eye off the ball. You know, it could be a magician's trick where it's sleight of hand. All right, so there are other things going on as well. So we have to be wary of that. So keep checking the other stuff as well, and not just the water meter stuff, because things are getting quite precarious at the moment globally, with the banks and everything else. So next week we have John Irwin, Super Soldier. We're planning to have John on. Hopefully he'll be available to come on, and we'll have a chat with John and get an update on what he thinks, how things are going from his perspective. So that would be interesting. Also, just a reminder for everybody, if you're new to the show, that the Ireland's Independence Day is on the 21st of January, and it'd be brilliant to see 100,000 people outside the Mansion House for Ireland's Independence Day on the 21st. It'd be brilliant. So it'd be good to see.
For the turning of the seal.
For the turning of the sovereign seal. It'd be good to see, you know, or as many people as we can get, you know, depending. We see how it goes. But so that's the plan of attack for next week. There was something else I was going to say, and I forget now. We have another guest coming on in a couple of weeks' time, which is going to be mind-blowing as well. Great information. So we're going to have to get him. We're going to get him on, and I think it's Dr. Joseph Chipalone. That's going to be very interesting as well. But as we say, take it easy. Have a safe week. If there's any news, email us. If you want to support OYM, by all means, it'd be great if you buy a T-shirt, stickers, and stuff like that, just for supporting us, because it does help. It does help pay the bills. And if you have any information, by all means, email us. We'll try and get through it and do what we can. We have a Facebook page, a YouTube page. Are you going to put the Kel's video up? Oh, no, it's up already, isn't it?
It's up already.
It's up already, okay.
Yes, I do have the video of it's only a short video because I didn't want to get the camera wrecked in the lashings of rain yesterday, but I'll get the link to the video. Actually, I'll pop off maybe and do it now, and I'll pop it up on the chat there, and you can just see the turnout in Kel's yesterday. If anyone's interested.
Brilliant. Who's on with Vin after the show? Do you know who's on?
I didn't actually ask him, and at this late stage,
I did see something earlier. I think Vin has somebody on talking about the official offer letter, and they're talking about an issue they had with boards.ie. I think the chaps on boards.ie were having a pop at the official offer letter.
They were,
and Vin wants to kind of call them out on that one.
No better man.
No better man. So so tune in to PIR. Vin's going to be up, and he's going to be talking about the official offer letter, as far as I know. So it should be a good show. So from ourselves, take it easy, stay safe. If you have any news, let us know, and we'll catch you next week. From Alan James, take care.
Yeah, okay, and same for myself. Stay tuned to the PIR, and thanks to Vin for restreaming us after the link bombed out there earlier. So fair dues to Vin. Stay tuned anyway, and we'll do it all again next week. For myself, Stephen George, take care. Good night. Bye bye.
Open your mind.